Welcome to the portal to New Sovereign Earth, an interdimensional landing strip for beings who know their power. Come, collaborate, learn, and co-create our collective heaven on Earth. Brought to you by Temple Sequoia, where you can find exclusive members-only content like events, shows, classes, and even invites to on-site retreats. You'll learn everything you need to know in order to build the new sovereign Earth. I'm your host, Kalina Lux. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn notifications on. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of The Portal. I am super duper stoked and thrilled and honored to have Alphonse with us today. All right, you guys, Alphonse Faggiolo is a man who typically needs no introduction, but since we're having a multitude of communities converge on this portal episode with us now from the crypto community as well as others, I am going to do my very best to give him an introduction that he deserves because he is a man that really, really brings it in terms of law. Alphonse, the way I would describe him is like he gives so much continuously, and he never even asks for money, and he's a badass in law. He just goes into these courts and he's no BS. He just tells them like it is with their own rules and their regulations and their statutes and codes, and he wins. And not just in the small stuff, in the big stuff. And this is specifically because he does not subscribe to Patriot Mythology. So when I reached out to Alphonse, I was like, please come through and help us, because I've got members of our community falling for Patriot Mythology and they are getting wrecked in the court systems. And I really can't think of a better person to come and help us set the record straight while he can simultaneously speak on how the court systems are acting fraudulently and out of honor. He can also demystify Patriot Mythology for us. So without further ado, Alphonse, thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, sadly, most of the people that get into this stuff actually enter through the Patriot Mythology route. Okay, that's how it works. The birth certificate route, the straw man, that's fine, and everybody sort of gets their feet wet with that. But when you actually get into the law and how it actually works, that stuff is just nonsense. And if you hold on to that stuff, it is not only going to hurt you, it's not going to help you in any way whatsoever. And listen, we've won a lot of stuff. We've knocked a lot of stuff out in courts. Won a lot of stuff out of courts. And we don't use any of that stuff. We don't use birth certificates. We don't use any trust stuff. We don't care how they spell our name. You can put it in capital letters and 20-foot high lights. I could care less. It doesn't matter. What matters is what's in my paperwork. And if push comes to shove, can I walk into court and actually litigate this? That's the only thing matters. Doesn't matter if they call me slave on the top. Alphonse Faggiolo, slave, could care less. What's in my paperwork is what's going to matter, because somebody's got to give me an answer to what's in my paperwork. And if they're just making crap up, which they generally are, okay, they're making stuff up. They're not following the law. And what's really messing most people up is 95% of our problems are coming from our local courts, municipal courts, okay? Very few of us are having problems with the federal governments. It's the local guys. It's your local town, your local borough, your local tax people. They're the ones that are always messing with you. And whether it's a traffic ticket, still your local, it's all local stuff. And you get drug into these municipal courts. The way these municipal courts work is there's two kinds of courts. There's judicial courts. That's where your constitutional rights are protected, okay? They're your federal courts. They're Article 3 courts, your federal courts. Your little local courts, your municipal courts, when they drag you in there for a traffic ticket or the code enforcer writes you a citation or some other crap that they write against you, they're pulling you into an administrative court, okay? It's called administrative law. It's actually in American jurisprudence. They'll tell you what administrative law is. And you can tell that most of the stuff in administrative law does not apply to you because right off the bat, violate. Okay, so there's no way that this administrative action you're moving against me can apply to me because you just violated, let's see, Pennsylvania Article 1, Section 1, 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 4, 5, 13, 14 of the federal Constitution. So there's no way that the legislature wrote this stuff to apply to me and you. But they have people buffaloed, and they steamroll people. Listen, they pull people into these courts, and they steamroll them. And the sad part about that is you get these crazy ideas to pop up. People think because they put their names in all capital letters that it means something. Okay, that's a secret trust they set up. Well, that's an impossibility. Nobody can set a trust up and make you they can make you a beneficiary, but you have no. If somebody set a trust up in your name, Kalina, okay, and they said, "Hey, I'm going to leave this property to Kalina. Here you go. I'm putting this trust." You can turn around and go, "You know what? I don't want it." You have no obligation to that trust, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But just because they name you as a beneficiary, they can't name you as the trustee, okay? They can't securitize your name because they named you in a trust. So that whole trust thing, it's just a ridiculous concept. It could never happen. That's not how things are done. That's not what trusts are. You could go read what a trust is. You know, it's a grantor. Say a property, I want to leave it to people. I'm the grantor. I set up a trust, and I assign a trustee. I say, listen, here's my properties. I'm going to leave them in the trust, and here's going to be the beneficiary, my cousin Bill, my cousin Joe, whoever. Got my people set up. The trustee follows exactly what the grantor tells him to do. And listen, upon my death, you're to turn over the properties to, my beneficiaries. Whatever I designate in that my instructions to him, that's what they have to follow, okay? But just because I sign them as beneficiaries, my cousins, I can't go securitize their name, okay? I can't go write bonds and whatever else people think that. I can't do that. That's called securities fraud. That's illegal, and people will go to jail for that. And we've almost had judges and lawyers go to jail for that. And we've gotten settlements for people because soon as we had the SEC step in and say, we're going to investigate this. We had a guy that he had a mortgage, and he made a deal with his existing mortgage company. They changed his rates. Well, it was Barclays, and Barclays sold the loan to another company. And when the new company bought the loan, they wanted to go back to the old terms. They want to stick with the new terms. And he's like, well, no, I got these terms with Barclays. This was set, And so they started foreclosure process on his house. Okay. They were going to foreclose on him. So we start doing record requests. We start asking for records from the Barclays. And I think somebody did him a favor because one of the people in Barclays sent him a document that showed that when they sold the loan, they wrote it off on their insurance, which means that got paid off. Okay. So now we got the insurance, the actual loan was paid off by the insurance. And now we got the buyer, whoever bought the loan, is trying to collect on it again. That's securities fraud. Something's been paid. Now you're going to collect on it again. Well, when we got that information, that document, we had them go to the SEC and we had them file the securities fraud. These guys are over here trying to collect on a debt that's been paid. As soon as the SEC said that they were going to look into this, the very next day, the judge who was involved in foreclosure and the attorney, they settled. They wiped the mortgage away. Whatever his mortgage was went away. I can't give you the number. It was big. His mortgage went away. And they flew a guy out to his house who got out of a black car in his driveway and gave him a check for $350,000. Okay. Wow. Settled. Okay. Why did that happen? Nothing to do with Patriot Mythology, nothing to do with anything else. Here's what happened, basically. They were engaged in securities fraud. They had a custom practice and policy of Barclays writing off, when they sold these loans, they'd write them off. The insurance company pays them. Well, nobody knew about that, okay? So now the new lender who bought the loan, he's going to try and collect on it. Most people didn't know that, and they would probably pay it, okay? Or they have no idea what was going on. We just happened to get that document that showed that, hey, this is already paid. That had nothing to do with any Patriot Mythology. It had to do with actual law. Listen, you can't get paid on something. Well, it's like me making an insurance claim and I get paid for my insurance claim, and there's somebody else trying to collect money on it. You can't. It's already been paid. It's satisfied. It's rectified.
Yeah, this happened to me. Remember one of our earlier conversations where I had a little loan with, I can't even remember what, and I missed like a payment, not even a month, and they had sold it. And on my credit report, it showed paid in full. But then I got this other documentation from somebody else that was really intimidating. And I was like, look, like, I don't have a contract with you. Like, please show it to me because I would like to be an honor. But they sold it so quick. And then that exact thing had happened, that they had they had claimed the insurance on it. So yeah.
Did they wipe it off? Did they wipe it out?
Yeah, it's still to this day, it shows paid in full. And that was so weird to me too, because when I saw my credit report after 1 month, there was like a time where like my father had passed and I was in a really hard time. And I did lapse on my payments, and they sold it so fast, and I was panicking because like I don't ever want to be out of honor. But then it showed paid in full. And that made me feel kind of sketchy, because I was like, I knew intuitively that the creditors had bought it. And then they were sending me all these really intimidating, like even law documents, summoning me to court. And I was terrified. But I never paid them. And I did have some lawyers, like I can't remember the group, but they reached out to me saying like, oh, we could get you money because these people are doing fraud and we've gotten them before. And I was so terrified at that point. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm going to cash out here. So, but yeah, I think we talked about that before.
I've knocked out more than a few credit card bills for people. And I don't listen. If you have a credit card bill, you pay it back. That's all I am. I'm not looking to skirt bills or get out of like payments. But this one woman that contacted me after they did one of the Crow interviews, she had $7,500 debt, and like you, the lending company sold it to some pettifogger shyster attorney firm. There was 3 attorneys in there that bought this, and he's on it, and they were sending her threatening letters, all kinds of like really like threatening letters. And I looked at that and I said, you know what, I don't really like doing this, but I can't take these attorneys. So they actually had the nerve to sue her, and they labeled the cause of action as breach of contract. So that's the first thing they did. And then when they bought the debt, they had their administrator, their secretary, she filed an affidavit into the case saying she has personal knowledge that debt was due. Now, does that person have any personal knowledge that the person that borrowed the money, no, okay? So I wrote her up a motion to dismiss. And I hit basically that I don't see any contract here in the pleading. Because when you file, in other words, if it's a contract breach, there's 3 elements to a contract. And this is why we push people to take the jurisdictionary course, okay, to learn the basic fundamentals of law. If you're coming after somebody for a contract breach, there's 3 elements you need to prove. You froze up. You there? Okay. There's 3 elements you have to prove. 1, that the person had a duty, okay, that they breached that duty. And because that duty was breached, there was damages caused to somebody. So if there's a duty, the duty can only be proved by the contract. So I stated in the motion, I don't see no contract here. I don't have no contract from no lender, because these are 3 pettifogger shyster attorneys that bought this debt. They don't have any paperwork on anything, okay? So they didn't have a contract. And I said, oh, by the way, your secretary, whatever her name was, I said, she just committed perjury. She filed an affidavit in the matter stating that she had personal knowledge that this debt was due. She don't know anything about this debt. So they go into court, and the attorney, listen, the judge was not happy with the attorneys anyway, because there was some, let's say, some screwery going on with the paperwork. They changed some dates by themselves, the attorneys, on the paperwork when they sent it like that they weren't supposed to change. So the judge was not very happy with the attorneys anyway to start with. So she's there, and thank God they did not ask her any questions, because she would have had no clue what was going on, okay? She had no clue what was going on. So judge is going through the folder. He goes, Mr. So-and-so, what'd you like to do about this? It's the motion to dismiss. Well, I didn't see that, sir. Lions SOB. We said it's certified now. We had a signature. We know he had it, okay? So he got it. He looks at it for a couple minutes. He goes, Judge, he said, we're going to non-suit. That means we're dropping everything. Everything's going away, okay? So they dropped everything. Now, why did that happen? Not because of her name was in capital letters no. Here's what happened. Basically, they filed for a cause of action that they couldn't prove. They couldn't prove there was a contract, number one. They couldn't prove that contract. Without a contract, they couldn't prove there was a breach. And then they couldn't prove who was damaged. And the worst thing they did was they actually had a secretary file an affidavit into the case stating that she knew for certain that that debt was true. Well, that's called perjury. You don't know. She don't know any personal knowledge of that debt. So it's all basic stuff like that. So I knew to do that from the jurisdictionary course because I knew what the elements of a contract were. If they're saying she's breach of a contract, well, there are 3 elements. They don't even have the contract. Okay. So let's go after that. Now, the reason that worked, if I just filed an affidavit into the matter alone, they don't have to respond to an affidavit. Nobody's got to respond to my affidavit, okay? Listen, we've knocked a shit ton of stuff out with affidavits, just affidavits. But the problem with just filing an affidavit is the other party that gets it, they don't have to respond or do anything. So if I send an affidavit to somebody and they don't respond, now you're SOL. You're shit out of luck. You can't do nothing, okay? But if I file it, an affidavit, and I put it, make it part of a motion, or I attach it to a motion, they have to respond to the motion. They got to give me an answer. That's a legal document they have to respond to. It's not an option for them. If they don't respond to the motion, I can turn around and go for a summary judgment because then there's no more facts in dispute. In other words, I put everything in here. You didn't respond. I'm going to need my, or a default judgment too. Well, this will be a summary judgment. If I put my facts in there and I say, hey, listen, here's the facts, here's the facts, here's the facts, and my motion to dismiss, and the other side doesn't respond, then there's no more conflict between us. There's no more facts in dispute. You were given an opportunity to respond. You didn't respond, okay? So now I go to the court. I say, listen, I'm going to need a motion for summary judgment. The other side didn't respond. Evidently, there are no facts in dispute because they didn't dispute my facts in my affidavit or on my motion. So
okay,
I've got some questions. Good.
Yeah. So I want to let you finish, but also affidavits are some of the most controversial things because on one hand, a lot of people think that, you know, you have to respond to an affidavit and it's a court, you know, a court of law, like all these kinds of things, like it's a legal document on its own. Can you fill us in and demystify the process from writing the affidavit and actually getting somebody to acknowledge that? Like, is it only after you have an open case? And if so, what are the steps that you would get to even have an affidavit have any power?
Well, actually, an affidavit, by definition, is a hearsay document. In other words, just because somebody writes an affidavit and you submit it into a case, it's still hearsay, okay? If I take, say I have a problem with my car and I get my mechanic to write me an affidavit that, hey, listen, this car they sold me, that the dealer sold me, it's a lemon, you know, and the engine was bad and this is bad, and I get my mechanic to write me an affidavit, and I filed that affidavit is worthless right now because if I go to trial, whatever the hearing is, we go to the hearing, and my mechanic's not with me, and I say, hey, judge, I submitted this affidavit from my mechanic. The other side, unless they're like comatose or brain dead, they're going to say, objection. There's no witness here to support the affidavit. We want to cross-examine the affiant. And that becomes part of the record is if I brought the mechanic in with me, he's with me at the hearing, and I say, hey, judge, here's the affidavit. He's willing to testify to the affidavit. Then he goes up on the stand. They put him under oath, and the other side gets to question him, okay? And then if they can't defeat his points at that stage, anything they can't defeat in his affidavit, they become facts of the case, okay? Maybe he's got 10 things on there, and maybe they dispose of 2 of them. But 8 they can't overcome. Those facts are in the case now for the judge. If it's just a judge involved, he'll decide. If it's a jury, the jury will decide those facts, those 8 facts that were undisputed, okay? That's when an affidavit is on the record. So affidavit are complete hearsay until somebody comes in and testifies to them, okay? Now, just because they're hearsay doesn't mean they haven't done some incredible things we've done with, okay? I mean, literally, I off the top of my head, I've knocked out 1.6 million. I've actually got $1.6 million in settlements for people with affidavits. One guy was a divorce case where he fired his attorney in the divorce matter against his wife. And he went in there against the attorney. She was a $450 an hour attorney. And I'll send you the message from him. I kicked her ass all over the courtroom today. By the time she gave her a closing statement, she was literally shaking, okay? He took her apart. Why did he take her apart? Because he knew basics of law where basically attorneys don't have personal knowledge of anything. So if that attorney's in there making statements, she better have friggin' witnesses coming in to testify. If she ain't got no witnesses Everything she's saying is hearsay. It's a lie. Now she becomes liable for all the crap she's saying. And he went after her with that, okay? Settled. He said, you saved me about $1 million in this. We got the case I told you about with the mortgage, with the lender selling the mortgage and it got paid off. That was done by an affidavit. We filed affidavits into the matter. I told my buddy who got the settlement with the probate court, $300,000 settlement. They kicked him out of the will. He had an aunt that had dementia. Okay, she had a will set up already years ago. She made a will, so she was diagnosed with dementia. She had dementia for a couple of years. His sister and her lawyer, who's the former probate judge of that county where in Georgia where this happened, they get the aunt to change the will. They get the aunt to change the will so that everything's in the sister's name. They knock out my buddy Ted and 11 people, friends of the aunts that were in the will. They knock them all out. Okay. She waits to day 49 to file the obituary notice in the paper. Why? Because on day 50, he couldn't challenge the will. We found out the very last minute. We shot an affidavit into that case, got it in on day 50. We halted the proceedings. We contested the will, basically. So that's all the affidavit did. We said, hey, we contest this will. This woman's got dementia. You guys changed a will with a dementia patient. And we said, my God, she was the executor of the will, the sister. She's got a fiduciary duty. This another thing comes from jurisdictionary. He has a fiduciary duty to let him know that the aunt passed away because he was still part of the will. Never did that, okay? So we halted the entire process. Through the process going on, they literally stole the house. We're going to try and get that back. We're going to try and get the house back. That's a whole dirty thing, too, what they did with the house. But when they did the whole thing with the house, the sister lied to the court and told the court there's only $3,500 left to pay for the expenses for the house. Turns out there's about $1 million left in stocks and jewelry that she didn't tell the court about. So now we had her what? In perjury. She lied, okay? We had her in a lie. So right along the lines of jurisdictionary, we filed a motion with the court to show cause why his sister shouldn't be brought up on perjury charges. Because we had proof that she told the court $3,500. Look, we got stock things here from the investment company, and we got jewelry estimates. There's $1 million sitting here. That sister lied to that judge. So now, judge, we need to know why she shouldn't be brought up on perjury. Well, when he filed the motion to show cause, the way that works is you send a copy into the court to get it on the record and a copy to the other side. And they have, generally in Pennsylvania, it's like 20 days to answer. Well, when they got that, you think they're going to answer that motion to show cause, Kalina? You think they're going to say, well, she just misplaced the 999,000.
Right.
We can't go answer this. They came to the table within a week and they settled for $300,000. He got the settlement,
Mm-hmm.
It's not done by any Patriot Mythology stuff. It's not done by trusts or anything else like that. Where people are getting really messed up with this stuff is administrative law and judicial law are two different types of law. Here's what administrative law is. If I'm an employee of the township I live in, okay, I'm considered an inhabitant of the township, okay? I am basically under their guidelines, whatever they write. I'm under their ordinances and their resolutions. When they write ordinances and resolutions, they apply to me. I'm one of their members, okay? And actually, when they talk about inhabitants in American jurisprudence, they define an inhabitant as a member of the corporation. Well, are you a member of the of your town? Are you a member of that corporation? Neither am I. Okay? Not a member. And there's another thing that people freak out about with citizenship, U.S. citizen. There's like a phenomenal citing out of the American jurisprudence where it states a U.S. citizen has to do with you. Basically, you have secured rights by the Constitution. And it's not the same as an inhabitant, a resident, or a person. It says it right in the citing. A U.S. citizen is not the same as an inhabitant, a resident, or a person. If they're calling you an inhabitant, resident, or person, that's your local municipality doing that, okay? They're trying to claim basically that you're a member of the corporation. You're one of theirs, okay? So you're under their ordinances and their resolutions, okay? Let me ask you this. every state, okay, has a legislature, right? They make law, right? That's the only one that can make laws, the legislature, correct? Can the legislature delegate their lawmaking authority to other people?
No.
Okay, so let's look at the town council where you live, okay? Your town council makes ordinances and resolutions. That's how they run their local area, the local municipality.
Mm-hmm.
Can an ordinance or resolution, can it be a law?
No, the law can't be changed.
Because they have no lawmaking authority, right? And that'd be a separation of powers problem. Because the municipality actually falls under the executive branch of government, okay? They're a functionary. They make sure the roads get paved and they plow when it snows and whatever. Mm-hmm. They do government functions. They fall under the executive branch, okay? They're not the legislature. They can't make law. So the ordinances and resolutions they have, they're not laws. But they will present it to the people, you and I. Hey, listen, we have this ordinance, Galena. You can't park on your street after 8 o'clock, or you can't do this, That's not a law. That's their local ordinance, okay? They can apply that to what? Their inhabitants, their employees, their members, people in contract with them. They can apply that stuff to them. Can't apply it to me and you. They're going to try, though. They're going to basically push it on you. They're going to try.
Oh, yeah.
But that's how you go and you go take that out and you go, hey, wait a minute. Is an ordinance a law? Because I'm pretty sure these guys over here called the legislature, which is the Senate and the Congress, they're the only ones who can make law in the state. You guys can't make law. So you can stick your ordinances where the sun don't shine. I don't really care about your ordinances. They don't govern me, So a lot of people are getting confused that they're taking that as, well, there's this secret trust going on and they're charging the straw man. No. Here's what you have. We have one of the most perfect law systems in the world. It's the greatest law systems ever created. There's nothing wrong with the system. People say, oh, the system's corrupt. No, the system's phenomenal. Here's what's wrong. The people running the system, they're corrupt, okay? And you can jack them up and jam them up if you understand how actual real law works. Because now you can come after them. And you come after them in their official capacity and their individual capacity. Mm-hmm. Individual means I'm now going to come after their home, their bank account, and their business, okay? If they want to do illegal stuff, they're no longer under the protection of the government, okay? If they step outside of whatever they're designated, they have no safety at that point. And that's what that Title 42, Section 1983 lawsuit is. Go read what the first paragraph is. Anyone that violates somebody's rights under color of law. Remember we're talking about law? Is an ordinance a law? No, right? Not a law. Legislatures make law. So if you're going to try and impose a law upon me through an ordinance, you want to do an ordinance, that's called the color of law. Well, now I'm going to walk you right into Title 42, 1983. I'm going to bring you right into federal district court, and I'm going to have you explain how your ordinance somehow superseded my constitutionally protected rights.
Ooh, okay.
So that's how you jam these people up. They're not used to this. They're not used to people turning around and actually understanding the law. Listen, they're not afraid of you coming in and going, hey, listen, that's my trust, and Judge, I'm designating you to be the trustee. They're not afraid of that. Know what they're afraid of? Guy walks in and goes, hey, wait a minute. How the hell are you guys doing this? You guys have no personal jurisdiction. There's a personal jurisdiction is created in every court, basically. Mm-hmm. You know that guy called a process server that knocks on your door and says, hey, you Galena? Yeah, there you go. You're being served. Well, they're serving you the complaint and a summons, okay, to answer. That's how a court gets their foot in the door to try and get personal jurisdiction over you, okay? Without service of process, that court never gains personal jurisdiction. And there's well-established case law says if they screw up process, the other side, by not serving you, they lost personal jurisdiction. Subject matter jurisdiction has to do with, is another thing where they confuse people. Courts of law, we can deal with tax matters or traffic matters. Maybe so. But you might not be able to deal with my matter, okay? Just because you can deal with a certain type of matter doesn't mean you can deal with my matter. And how would they be able to deal with my matter? Well, there's got to be a complaint filed against me, okay? An actual complaint that I can answer.
Okay. I'm going to maybe just stop you right here because I have so many questions. And I feel like in order to move forward, I want to get just a little bit of clarification. So just a side note here, it's interesting that a lot of this Patriot mythology is very focused on getting you to drop the term citizen, when in fact I feel like the term citizen has it has the implications for our rights within it. But that was just a side note. So my main question right here before we go over, I think that a few of us are still confused on how we get to the part where the affidavit actually has any power. And it's only after there's a court case. So let's say, for example, I know a few of us on this call, and myself included, have had crimes committed against us by officers of the law or whatever. And like in my case, I was pulled over for being on my cell phone, given a warning. And he literally says, okay, ma'am, I'm going to let you off with the warning. You got lucky, blah, blah, blah. And I move on my little way. And when I go to renew my registration, I discover that that same officer wrote me up for 8 tickets, many of which were completely not driving a car that wasn't fit for the road, having no license, having no seatbelt. Everything you could have possibly written me up for was on there. And I went to dispute it, and I even went to the court and everything. And I had no remedy. I had to pay like $4,000 in order to even get my registration, because they were threatening to tow my vehicle and put me in jail. And I don't have that kind of time to go through all that. I've got a mission over here. So I just did it. But I think a lot of us have other things that are even more maddening and disheartening than that.
All right, listen, an affidavit is statements of fact, okay? You can't put anything that's like, hey, I read somewhere that, that this COVID thing's bogus. No, it's got to be things that that you can swear to under your personal knowledge of something, okay? Hey, right. This guy did this to me. I have personal knowledge of it, So affidavits are fact. You can turn any document into an affidavit by putting what's called a Jurat, Jurat on it, okay? Mm-hmm. And a Jurat's just basically like 3-line blurb basically saying, I, Alfonso Nicholas, have personal knowledge of the matter stated herein, Because I'm willing to go to jail for what I'm putting on here. You put that Jurat on any document, that pretty much turns it into an affidavit, okay? Now, as long as the document has factual statements on it, you can't go into, well, so-and-so did this study, and the study said this. Well, you don't really know nothing about that study. I can't comment on what that study says. Comment on facts that I know about, that I could actually testify to. When I could say, hey, that attorney that wrote that lien against me, he committed forgery. I could write that in there and say he committed forgery. I said, well, what evidence do you have of that? Because he don't have any ownership or interest in the property. He can't lien property by himself. The only way he can lien property is through a court process. He's got no judge's signature. He committed forgery. That's a factual statement I could write on a thing. So any factual statements I write, as long as I put a Jurat on there, that's that little statement saying, I have personal knowledge of this matter, and I'm willing to go to jail and all that, basically. That makes it an affidavit. So if you write an affidavit alone, that's just a sworn statement saying, hey, listen, I have personal knowledge of this. If you just by itself out, no one has an obligation to respond to your affidavit. If we're out of court and I send you an affidavit and say, Kalina, you did this, you did that, you did that. You can say, Alphonse, stick this up your rear and I could care less what you said. You have no legal obligation to me. But if I sue you, okay, and I file a motion against you into the case, and I attach an affidavit to it, or I take the motion and I make the motion an affidavit by putting factual statements in it and putting that Jurat in there, and I send it to you, well, now you can't tell me to go stick it wherever. Now you got to answer it, okay? So that's when an affidavit becomes powerful, is when you attach it to a document that must be answered. Either make it part of a document that's got to be answered by putting the Jurat in there, or attaching a separate affidavit to a motion. In other words, you write the motion and you support it with the affidavit. See attached affidavit, attach the affidavit. So now when that gets served to the other party, they can't ignore it. Because if I sent you a motion and you ignored it, I can then go to the court and get either a default judgment or a summary judgment against you. I can end the case.
Okay, this is gold. Does there need to be a case before you file a motion? And if so, how? How do you?
Motions only happen during cases. There's got to be a formal case going on.
What about the other method? If you have a jurat, do you need a case open as well?
No. You listen. You can file that. Like I said, we knocked a lot of stuff out with affidavits, and like I got the guy do a lot of interviews with Big Sib. I think I sent you a couple. He saved a ton of people's jobs. His daughter's a nurse. He saved a ton of people's jobs through affidavits. Okay, just filing affidavits saying, "Hey, wait a minute," with fact stuff. But here's the problem. That worked in those cases, and it worked in some of my cases. But if you send that to somebody, the affidavit, like we said before, they're under no obligation to respond to you outside of a court proceeding. So I can send you an affidavit, and you can basically tear it up and throw it in the trash. You're under no legal obligation to respond to my affidavit. And here's the Patriot Mythology part. People think if I send you an affidavit and you don't respond to it, you acquiesce. You've agreed, okay? Well, let's take this out to its ridiculous conclusion. So you got a dog you love, okay? Whatever, you're Fluffy, your dog. And I write you an affidavit and I say, Kalina, Fluff mine. He's my dog. I own Fluffy. And I send you this affidavit, you don't respond. And then they're mystical. They love this 3 thing. If you do things in 3s, if you do it in 3s, send them 3 of them. So I send you 3 things like that, Kalina. And I say, hey, Kalina, Fluffy's mine. And you don't respond after the 3rd time. Does that mean Fluffy's mine, that you acquiesced, that Fluffy's mine? I come get Fluffy now? No. So, but that's what they're teaching people. That, well, you acquiesced. You didn't respond. Well, I got no legal obligation. You had no legal obligation to respond to me when I said Fluffy's mine.
Right. And I mean, I laugh because I've been there, like literally believing that this, when I first started, because I think you know my story. And for those of you who don't, I only kind of started studying law because in Puerto Rico, the mandates were so intense that my people needed a solution. And, it just kind of blossomed. And I've had to learn all these things. And my only goal is, well, aside from demystifying now this Patriot mythology, because people that I care about are getting in trouble following these things, is also setting the record straight. So how can people that are like-minded use these processes to get solutions? And in the case of this interview, I could not have chosen a better person, because you're the only person I know of, aside from like Big Sib and whatnot, that are getting actual results using these methods. So I write a jurat. I could say, okay, police officer, blah, 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 Gates said I had a warning, then filed these things. Now I create a jurat. Now I have a document. Now I could serve it to him. If he ignores it, what's my next step?
Then your next step is you got to file a lawsuit against him. Okay. Like I said, I could send you an affidavit. Like I said, we've cleared a lot of stuff up with affidavits. So, hey, listen, me and Brandon, Big Sib, we tell people, hey, listen, if you're not going to get into this law stuff and suing people, by all means, try the process. See if it'll work for you. Can't guarantee it'll work because, like I said, the other side does not have to respond to your affidavit. When they don't respond, now you're in la. Now you're no land, basically. You're screwed, okay?
Right.
The only way I can make them respond to that is now I got to bring a lawsuit against them. And then I could take that affidavit I sent them, and I could take that affidavit and make it part of my pleading. All the stuff I wrote in there, like you said, officer so-and-so, well, now that goes into your actual pleading. Guess what? Now officer so-and-so, he's got to address every point that you put on there. All those points he ignored before, now he can't ignore. Because if he ignores them in a lawsuit, a pleading, you could turn around and file for what's called a default judgment. It means the other side never answered you. The other side, it depends on the different municipalities. If it's a municipal case, they have different time lengths they give. Like if it's a federal case, they might give a municipality 60 days to respond. But if it's a local case, the other party might have 20 days to respond, okay? So if it's a local case and you filed against officer so-and-so and you put all your stuff in there and officer so-and-so ignores you, well, now you file what's called a motion for default judgment. Hey, I sent officer so-and-so an opportunity to respond to my complaint. He decided not to. He defaulted. So now, Judge, I'm going to need you to give me a default judgment because obviously, why? There's no facts in dispute. The facts were in in your pleading. You put in there, hey, officer, you did this, you did that, you did that. He had a chance to respond. He didn't respond. That's his problem. So now you go to the court and say, motion for default judgment. He's past the 20 days. Judge, I'm going to need you to give my default judgment. The judge is going to have to sign a default judgment for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
is
you
that
force
20? Does
Yeah.
that 20 days, is it different between state to state, or is that kind of
It might
standard?
be like certain certain places might be 20, 25, some might be 30. It could be. It's local court rules if it's a local proceeding. Federal, usually when you're going against the state or state entities, they have 60 days to respond to you. So when I sue for my property tax stuff, they're gonna have 60 days to get back to me. Okay. But if it was a local case and I was suing somebody, it would be like 20 days. They'd have to respond to the lawsuit. So that's how you force somebody to answer you. So there's your affidavit question where, yes, send the affidavit out. If you're not going to if you're not going to get into the suing stuff, and it's above your head and you don't have time for this, you're not going to do it. That's your only hope. That's your Hail Mary pass is the affidavit. But if the other side doesn't respond, well, now you're sort of out of luck. You've got to basically either file a suit to force them, because if you could send the affidavit to sort of try and stay out of court. That's really what that first affidavit is. If they don't respond, then you can, like I said, you can actually file the lawsuit, and then you take that affidavit and everything you had in it, and now you put it in your pleading. And now he's got to respond to you. He didn't want to respond before, but now he's got to, because it's part of a formal court proceeding.
Excellent.
And you would have him served. You would basically file the complaint with the court, and you would give the clerk a bunch of summons for people you need to have summons. Like say it's just the officer. So you would do the officer with the complaint, and there would be one summons for the officer, and the clerk would stamp it and okay it. And then you would go hire a process server for $100, and you say, hey, go serve Officer Smith over here. They would take your complaint and your summons, and Officer Smith would get a knock on the door, and he would say, hey, Officer Smith, yes, you've been served. And that's your lawsuit. Now he's got 20 days to give a response to. He's either got to answer you, or he's got to try and motion your case out of there. He's got to try and motions are basically, we call it a flurry of motion. Before you give a lawsuit, you can try and motion the suit out of there before you have to give the answer. So we call it a flurry of motions. He could try and motion your suit out of there. Basically what he's trying to tell the court is why your suit has no gravitas, why it shouldn't be in there, why there's no facts. If you can't do that, he's got to answer that suit. He's got to give you a response to that suit. And then you go to trial. That's what trials are about, okay? He's on the record now. You've made your claims. He's given his responses. And now we need to go to trial to sort of hash this out. Let's get some witnesses on the stand. Let's question some people, how they're doing certain things, And the beautiful thing about when you start that trial, here's another great tool for people to learn to use. If you're outside the court process and you want to try and get information, you can only request records from your local municipality or your township or federal government, whoever. You can only request records. It's very limited to what you can get. It's only records that they have. But you can get a lot of good information by sending record requests in. So that a record request process, every state's got their own record request process. Very simple to, like Pennsylvania, it's tight. Hey, you write this, send me this record, that record. And they generally have 5 days to answer. But they have an option to ask for a 30-day extension. With me, they always ask for the 30-day extension. They always ask for time. That's no problem. So they get the 30-day extension, and then they try and bullshit me by saying, hey, we don't have any record to meet that request. Great. Because though they're winning the battle, I'm not going to get these records. Why? Because most of them don't exist. They actually don't have the records they need to be doing what they're doing. So if I can get them on record by them telling me they don't have that record, that's going to come bite them in the ass when I sue them in federal district court. When I write my suit up, I'm going to go, hey, I did this record request back in May. I asked for these records. They told me they don't have them. Okay. They don't have no records. So now that makes them look bad. Hey, listen, if you're doing things against somebody, you better have documentation of it, records of how you're doing this. You're making claims against property. You better have records that you have some kind of ownership or interest in the property. So you use the record request process out of court. You're very limited to what you can get, though. Now, here's the great thing about what I'm telling you about the suit. When the officer doesn't answer your thing, you say, what do I do? He's not answering. Now you got to sue him. When you sue him, when the case starts, there's something called discovery.
Ooh.
Discovery is a wonderful thing, okay? There's basically 5 elements of discovery. Imagine having your adversary across from you, and you get to ask him yes or no questions. That's called an admission, okay? That's what first part of discovery is. So say you're the town the assessor, you're assessing property. Okay, my property. Say, Kalina, do I have a right to do I have a right to own property? You'd have to say yes, right? Your response would have to be yes, and the response back. Okay, Kalina, can a right be taxed?
No.
Okay. Now my interrogatory. Kalina, how are you taxing my home?
Yes.
Excuse me. This is discovery, okay? So we have admissions, which are yes/no questions. You get to ask a bunch of yes/no questions, admissions. And some states, they limit you. You might have 20 admissions you could do or 30 admissions, but they're powerful things. Hey, do I have a right to due process?
Yes.
Yes, right? Okay. When you filed the lien against me without me having a chance to respond, was that due process? Yes or no?
No.
What's he going to say? What's the lawyer going to say? Oh, yeah, that was due process. Yeah, I filed the lien. I never gave you a chance to answer. It's the opposite. You sort of jam them up. So I say discovery, and I'll go into discovery more, is where cases go to die. Because when I start asking you these lethal yes or no questions, it's starting to get bad for you. Now, after the yes/no questions, they're called admissions. Now I can ask you what's called interrogatories. I can say, hey, Kalina, explain how my property got on your tax roll. How my non-commercial property got on your ad valorem tax roll. Explain how this process happened. So now you got to give me an explanation. That's called interrogatory. And I can do a bunch of them. When I want to whatever no question that I need like you to respond to, that's an interrogatory. So that'd be element 2 of your discovery request. Then you get to do this part 3, which is request for production of documents. Hey, give me this record that gave you authority to do this. Mm-hmm. Hey, give me, like they like to over here. What we're fighting is the stuff. Well, every property have a taxable situs. A situs basically shows the connection with the municipality and the state. Why they have. Like a business situs would be if I was selling computers from my house, okay, and I had a business license from the state, and I was using my house to use it. My property would have a situs with the state because I'd have a license for doing this business, and I'd be using my property to do the business. So now they can tax my property. That's exactly what a property tax is, okay? That's what a property tax is. So if I'm going to do a discovery request and I say, provide me a record of the, a situs of the property. What activities are going on at my property that are creating this situs or this taxable situs? That's a request for production. Or when they sent the code when they sent the code guy to stop my roofing job, and I sent him a record request. What do you need to do a search of somebody's property, Kalina?
A warrant.
A warrant. So when the code guy sent the job, record request. Provide me a copy of the warrant Mr. So-and-so had when he walked upon the property. We don't have no warrant. Oh, you don't have no warrant. Okay. That's a request for production, okay? So when I sue them, and I will sue these people too, that will be one of the things they'll ask for production. Provide me a copy of the warrant. We don't have a warrant. So now you guys did a warrantless search, basically. You did a warrantless search. So that's your third element is request for production. And then here's the best part, the funnest one, Kalina. You get to do depositions. That means you get to sit down and interview the person. And the attorney will be there, but the attorney can't answer the questions for them, okay? The attorney can only say, well, you're not allowed to ask that. The attorney's trying to be like the referee to try and protect their client. But if you're asking legitimate questions, their client's got to answer, Hey, Mr. Van Zelst, explain to me how my property got on your customer roll. And just to show how ridiculous it is, when I sat down with this guy and I had a face-to-face meeting with him, and I said, hey, John, explain to me how my property got on your customer roll. He was like that when I got here. Oh, okay. It was like that when you got there. Well, then it must be legal then, somebody put it on there, In other words, what that told me is he can't explain how the property is on this thing. So if I ever get him in a deposition, he's going to get ripped apart. Hey, John, explain how my property got on your tax roll. Oh, it's like that when I hear it's not going to cut it. So that's your request for production. Your deposition. That's your fourth element of discovery. And your fifth is if the other side like anything that somebody doesn't want to give you, or they say, well, I don't have to turn that over to you. I'm not turning it over to you. You can go to the court and get a subpoena. You could subpoena whatever you want. Like, and the case I was telling you about with the dementia patient that they changed the will with, to the doctor to get the medical records, and he wouldn't get a subpoena. So we had to go back to the court and tell the court, need you give us a subpoena to the doctor, telling him to turn over the medical records. And he's doing that to protect himself, okay? Because he just don't want to turn over records and get sued. He'll turn over anything you want, but give me the subpoena from the court, because that's a court telling him, hey, turn these over. And he go, okay, great. Court told me to turn them over. Here they are. So that's how he's looking at it. So that's the power when you file a lawsuit. You have those 5 discovery tools to you. And I'm sure you wanted to ask that cop questions, didn't you?
Yeah.
Imagine putting them in discovery requests. Hey, when you gave me this, you never supplied me these 8 things you wrote up. Did you ever send these like a million and jam him up? Like in other words, how did this happen? You could get that through discovery, through admissions, interrogatories, requests for production. Hey, give me the record that you sent me about these 8 things you had on there. I never got anything. I was never served anything.
Right.
That's your request for production. What's he going to say? Well, I don't have nothing. So now you're just making it up. You're just basically breaking the law. You're not giving notice. You're not sending stuff out. That's the power of the lawsuit. That's why we egg people on to file lawsuits against people, because most of these lawsuits never really go to trial. They get settled before trial. Mm-hmm. All Steve's lawsuits. That's my mentor. Steve's the best there's ever been at doing this stuff. The suit he got 38.2 buddy, the house for property taxes, that never went to trial. It was all done in negotiation. Okay, Steve filed the lawsuit. They didn't want. Remember, talk about answers. They couldn't motion it out because it was so egregious. There's no way they were going to motion this suit out. So they had to give an answer to the suit. Well, they knew everybody was watching because Steve sent. They sent the suit out to all the local media, the national media. He sent it out to the FBI. He sent it out to all the alphabet organizations. And they were getting phone calls from Janine Shapiro's TV show and from the other one, the girls on MSNBC, she's liberal, whatever. But they had national shows calling the county, asking the county when they were going to give an answer to the lawsuit. That scared the hell out of them. Okay, so they came to the settlement table. It lasted a week. They talked for a week. They started at about $800,000. Okay, settled for $38.2 million. Gave them the house back. Took all the utility meters off the house. Okay, that was all done out of court. Why was that done out of court? Because the initial suit that Steve filed against them was a $400 million suit, not a $38.2 million suit. Steve wrote up for $400 million. They knew if they went to court, the trial, they might have lost $400 million or they might have lost more than $400 million. Because when they were jerking Steve around and his buddy, they were jerking him around, trying to lowball him. And Steve said, you know what? I think we'll take our chance in court. Maybe we'll get more than $400 million. And the risk management guy for the county was there. Risk management handles their insurance stuff. The guy for risk management was at the negotiations. When Steve said, maybe we'll get more than 400 after what the stuff you guys did, he said he literally winced. He went like, ooh. Like he knew that was a real possibility that when this is told to a jury of what they did to this guy, they killed his animals. They put him in jail. I mean, horrendous stuff they did. They destroyed $1 million worth of his goods, his stuff. So if that went to a jury, you might get a jury say, you know what? We think this guy deserves $800 million. Okay.
Right.
That drove them to the settlement table because they knew that they couldn't answer that lawsuit. And Steve used discovery too. That made him look bad too. The pleading's bad. And then the discovery you're using, like I said, that makes him look horrible. Because like we were talking about the property tax guy. Do I have a right to own property? Yeah. Can a right be taxed? No. How are you taxing my property? Oh.
Yeah. Right. So does discovery happen before the lawsuit gets to court? Does that happen?
No, it's gotta happen when there's a lawsuit. Whenever the lawsuit starts, discovery starts like that. You can start discovery at any point. You can do it at any point. And
how does that?
What's that?
Like is that over paperwork or does it have to be in person?
It's all paperwork. It's all paperwork. In other words, when I started getting into this, I had a suit with the sewer authority. It's still going on actually, but I got the attorney that started the suit. I got him fired. Actually got the guy fired, okay? Now, I took the jurisdictionary course, like $250 course. Best $250 you could spend, okay? Now, I knew I knew the basic fundamental. In when I do admissions questions with you, if I sent you admissions questions, here's how you answer admissions. Admitted, denied, or not enough information from the admissions question. Hey, do I have a right to own property?
Yes.
It's either going to be admitted, denied, or not information. Okay.
Admitted.
Right. It'd be the only way you should answer. When I sent my admissions questions to the sewer authority attorney, he had to show me how smart he was. He wanted to show me how smart he was. So he didn't give me admitted, denied, or not enough information. He gave me paragraphs. He wrote paragraphs to me. Is that not the worst thing you could do? Remember when they say you shouldn't talk, keep your mouth shut? Well, he had to run his mouth. Instead of giving me admitted or denied, he had to tell me how smart he was, and he kept digging more holes for himself because he kept opening up more cans of worms. Oh, look what he said. Oh, I didn't even know that. Look, he just volunteered that. He kept talking, okay? Now, that's a seasoned attorney that's been doing this for probably 25 years, okay? He's a solicitor for a lot of companies like municipalities around here. He's a well-known guy. How could he know not to give me more than admitted, denied, and not enough information? Because they're lazy, fat elitists, okay? They're so used to running over people and just taking advantage of people that they have no respect for us as pro se litigants. And when you get a guy like me or Brandon or Steve come along, or Randy, whatever, they get jammed up because now it's like some other attorney against you, but the other guy doesn't have the limitations that an attorney would have. Stuff that another attorney won't do because they're brethren. They're part of the bar association, okay? And that's how screwed up the case stuff is you go into court. So say you got say it's a traffic ticket, whatever. You got the prosecutor coming at you. So you got the judge. He's also a bar member, even though he's not using the bar card right now. He's still a bar member. He's holding on to the bar card because probably when he retires being a judge, he's probably going to handle some legal stuff. So they hold on to the bar card. Prosecutor member, okay? They teach you. What's the first thing you do when you get in trouble, Kalina? Who do you go hire?
A lawyer.
Oh, a lawyer. You're going to go hire another bar member. Number 3.
Right.
Everybody's in the group, the bar group. You think they have your best interest at hand?
No. Yeah, no way. No way. Definitely
not.
You
think your attorney's going to do anything to piss that judge off?
Well, absolutely not, because they're all that they're for themselves. They have fiduciary to the bar above all else. So of course
he might see that judge for the next 10 years practicing law in the county. You think he's going? Your attorney might be able to do something to get you out of the case, but he might piss the judge off doing it. Guess what's going to happen? He's not going to piss the judge off. Okay, you're going to get screwed because he's not going to give you the best defense. But if you knew what he should be doing, you could do it. Okay, you don't give a hell care about the judge. I went to a room and I go file judicial complaints against the judge. No attorney would ever do that. That judge would put a target on that attorney and go for his bar card, okay? He'd sanction him, he'd go for his bar card, and that attorney wouldn't be an attorney no more. But you or I, we don't have that limitation. I don't care about that judge. I don't care about that other attorney. I had an attorney walk in court. I filed a bar grievance against him, and the second attorney. After they fired the first one, the second one came in. I immediately filed a bar grievance against them. But I knew the bar, here's what happens. When I filed a bar grievance against the attorney, the bar gets it. They're going to basically tear it up. And they're going to send me a letter saying, Mr. Faggiolo, we've investigated ourselves and we're innocent. There's nothing done here. Great. What they don't know, what I know, is anything attorney that's a negative, that whether it's a claim or a grievance, he's got to let the insurance company know because they want to know what's going on because it could lead to a lawsuit. So even though it's not going to do anything, that bar grievance, except notify his insurance company, guess what? The insurance company, they don't care about the validity of my grievance. You know what they care about? Dude, somebody could sue you here. This guy filed, and you start getting more grievances coming in. Well, now they pretty much know he's going to get sued. Guess what happens to his rates? His rates start going up, okay? So now we start banging his rates. That's why we had attorneys run from cases. We've had Brett was involved trying to save somebody, woman's house. He went through 10 attorneys. 10 attorneys went off the case because he bar grieved the hell out of him. As soon as he got involved in the case, bar grievance, new attorney, bar grievance, off the case. He was banging the attorneys. That's why they were running from the case. So that's a tool we could use also. That's a very powerful tool, and you can use it with judges too. The last 3 citations we've gotten, I got one for my inspection sticker expired, and my buddy Carmen got 2 for parking his 2017 Corvette on his lawn. Carmen can park the jet on his lawn if he wanted to. It doesn't matter. His lawn. So we had them messing with that. So we filed judicial complaints against the judges, and they went poof. The claims went poof. The court stopped sending paperwork. Everything went poof. Why? Because we filed judicial complaints against the judge. Now we're just like the attorney, we're banging his insurance. If I filed a judicial complaint, the judicial board's not going to do anything to that judge, okay? They're not. But he's got to let the insurance company know, get a judicial complaint filed against him. And then if I add also state criminal complaints that I file against the judge, which I like doing with the judges and the attorneys, the DA's not going to do anything to them with the criminal complaints. I know that, but scares the hell out of them because now it's on record. They criminal complaints filed against them. They also have to let insurance and criminal complaints filed against them. And if push comes to shove, and I say when the rubber meets the road, we really have to look at what's in my criminal complaints, they're screwed. Okay? Because if we really look at what's in my criminal complaints, that DA can't shove it. He can't get rid of it. They're going to have to explain how the hell they did what they did. Hey, Mr. DA, why didn't you go after this? Earn complaints against him. It's right there for you. There's no way you knew he wasn't guilty. But they try and protect them, okay? They'll try and protect them. All we're doing is setting the table. We're just setting them up, okay? Hey, here's a judicial complaint for you. Here's a state criminal complaint for you. Oh, Mr. Attorney, here's a bar grievance for you. Here's another bar grievance for you. We're just going to keep paper cuts. Hit them with paper cuts. Boom. Soon they're going to get to know your name, okay? And soon they're going to look at your name and go, you know what? Guy's a pain in my ass. Don't send him anything. And when you do it with a judge, you hit him with criminal complaints, and you hit him with judicial complaints. God forbid if you sue him, your name ever comes up again, he's going to say, "Don't ever bring that guy in my court again." Because he knows for this $140 traffic ticket that's coming his way, he's going to get he's going to get a judicial complaint, he's going to get a state criminal complaint filed against him, and he's probably going to get sued, which means he's going to have to go hire a friggin' attorney and pay out of his own pocket. You think he wants to do that for a $140 traffic ticket? You go look at me and go, "Don't bring that guy in here. I don't want to see this guy. Get him out of here." And go away, okay? This is how you separate these people from you. This is how you make them go away. You become a thorn in their side.
Okay, I love this so much because you're presenting actual solutions, just like I was hoping and I knew you would. So, all right, because I know that we have people not only in this chat right now, currently from the temple, but also watching later that have had atrocities happen against them by officers, like horrible, killing their pets, all kinds of things. What is like a good attack, right? Method of attack. So they've got their affidavit and now they're ready to do the next thing. What is the next method for them? Because I like this so far. I really like, how you just said suing them and all that. So where do we go from here? We got our affidavit.
You're not going to get any remedy in the local municipal courts. You're not going to get any remedy. Look, I could sue somebody in my municipal court. Listen, I could have a video of them killing somebody on video, Right. They said, no, he's not killing him. He's just pushing him with the knife. He's just pushing him along with the knife to help him, He's not killing him, But that's what they would do locally, okay? They would cover it up. That's what they do.
Of course.
I know that. And even if I move it to the state, the higher court, maybe I have a better chance there. The only time I'm going to stay in the state is when it's not against the government entity. If it's me and you, okay, and we have a contract dispute and I sue you for I'll take it to a state court because they don't have a dog in the fight, the state. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to protect the municipality or a town. They're not trying to protect anybody. It's just a regular lawsuit. So anything like that, I'm going to state court. Mm-hmm. Anything involving a government entity, whether it's my local town, my borough, whoever, county, I'm going to federal district court, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm taking them where they have no friends because I know if I stay in this little municipal court, it's a little cocoon. Everybody's all safe there, Hey, I remember my buddy Carmen had a case years back, and he said, he goes, from talking to you, he goes, and I'm thinking back to stuff that happened to me. He goes, when I had this DUI case years back, he goes, my attorney walks up to the judge, and they're talking about golf times on Saturday when they want to go tee off. Well, isn't that a little bit of a conflict of interest that your attorney and the judge are buddy that they're going golfing Saturday, you know? So I want to stay out. If it's anything, it's a government entity. I want to go into federal district court where they have no friends. And when I bring them in federal district court, I'm bringing them in under Title 42, Section 1983. It's called a civil rights claim, okay? And I hear people say, well, we don't have civil rights. I'm a man. I have natural rights. Civil rights are for slaves, citizens. No. No, listen. And the funny thing is, when you read the 42, 1983 thing, if you're not a citizen, you can't bring a 42, 1983 suit. So let me get this straight. I got these people out there. I don't want to name names. They're selling paperwork. They're selling documents to make themselves a state citizen and to renounce their federal citizenship. So let me get this straight. Now you're going to cut your nose off to spite your face, because when Steve got the $38.2 million, that was in a Title 42, Section 1983 lawsuit in federal district court. Okay. Steve got a couple big settlements up there in federal district court. So Steve said, I'm not a citizen. I'm renouncing my citizenship. Well, now you just cut your nose off. So it's really a stupid thing to do. Yeah. It's not a bad thing to be a citizen. I know people think it makes it. No. It's one of the best things you could be. People die to get in this country to be a citizen, okay? Just because you're a citizen doesn't mean you lose your rights or somebody has control over you. Listen, citizenship and jurisdiction. Citizenship is one factor of jurisdiction, okay? It's not – for a court to hear any matter, they need to have – there's got to be three elements that must exist. The court must have territorial jurisdiction. In other words, Pennsylvania can't hear a case for Delaware. Somebody from Delaware can't, it's got to be – Pennsylvania can only hear somebody for Pennsylvania. I can't bring a Delaware citizen in. Can't force them to come into a Pennsylvania court. So you got to have territorial jurisdiction. Then we talked about, remember, personal jurisdiction? Court's got to have personal jurisdiction. And the way that can only happen is through what? Service of process. The other side serves you the complaint and the summons, give you a notice and opportunity to answer. That's called due process. They're giving you, when they're serving you, they're giving you due process. They're giving you a notice and an opportunity to yourself by either trying to motion their case out or answering it. And the third one they need is they need subject matter jurisdiction. There's got to be some, and generally subject matter jurisdiction sort of relates back to there's got to be a party with standing in the matter. If there's no party with standing, there's no reason for a suit, okay? And there's a great Pennsylvania citation that I passed out. It's the one. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. When a cause of action, whether it's a DUI, whether it's a speeding ticket, when a cause of action is created by a statute, there must be a party with standing in the matter. Well, so if I went through the stop sign, does the does the township have standing? Nope. Does the state have standing? Nope. And because they go on further to explain what standing is. Standing means that someone was directly affected by the matter, like materially affected by the matter. Well, that can't happen, okay? And it states further that the courts of Pennsylvania they're for justicable controversies. They're for real controversies. Not, hey, the guy went through the red light and we think we could fine him. That's a theory, okay? So when you move like that by using case law and citing stuff, courts need three elements for jurisdiction: territorial, personal, and subject matter. So your citizenship in the U.S. may give them territorial jurisdiction, okay? You're a U.S. citizen. They can hear a matter involving you. But it doesn't give them personal jurisdiction, and it doesn't give them subject matter jurisdiction. It's just one leg of the stool. There's three legs on that stool. There's a territorial jurisdiction, there's personal jurisdiction, and there's subject matter jurisdiction. Even though you're a citizen and you're subject to those courts, that's only one leg. They haven't established personal jurisdiction. They haven't established subject matter jurisdiction. So your citizenship, and I had a guy talk about the Patriot Mythology stuff. I addressed a group, a South Carolina group, a state assembly group. And I said, you really want me to talk to your group? I'm like the opposite. And he swore he wanted me to come on. Okay. So, but they were actually very open, and I explained how jurisdiction works. And he asked me a question, Clean. He said, what about crossing the bar? He said, when you're in court, he said, what about crossing that bar? He said, or answering to your name, the all caps name. He answered to the name. I said, we just talked about jurisdiction, didn't we? I said, does how they capitalize my name or whether I cross the bar, does that have anything to have to do with territorial jurisdiction? No. Does that have anything to do with them sending a process over to my house and giving me a copy of the complaint with a summons? Nope. Does it have anything to do with another party having standing in a matter that that there's a justicable controversy here? He said, and there goes your Patriot mythology out the window. Doesn't matter whether I cross the bar, I lay on the bar. Doesn't matter what I do on the bar. It has nothing to do with how that court can proceed. They need to have jurisdiction in the matter to proceed. Doesn't matter how to capitalize my name. Had nothing to do with the jurisdiction things we just talked about.
So, Alphonse, my question is then, what do you think? Where did all of this Patriot mythology come from? Do you think it's just a psyop to mess people up from even knowing their rights even further? Because I feel like there's a subset of us who are really craving to express the fullness of our rights. And it's so confusing and challenging because, like you said, all of us pretty much have like a 4th grade reading level, even those of us that are educated, right? And so where do you think this mythology came from, and how is it so successful in getting people with well intentions to basically throw themselves under the bus?
Well, there's a couple well-known. I don't want to name any names. There's a couple well-known people floating around that are making a whole lot of money off of this stuff. Okay, they're selling, state, what is it, American State National, whatever, paperwork and all this stuff. They're selling all this stuff. So they have an iron in the fire. They want to keep this going on. And most people, I think, are so beaten down from being miseducated. Listen, they don't teach us this stuff in school. We weren't taught this. How can we go through 12 years of school and that government's in every aspect of your life, okay? They're in every aspect of your life. And they go through 12 years of school and they don't teach you the basics. They tell you, hey, Clean, you got these rights. You got all these rights. Look, you got these rights. And you don't have clue one on how to exercise them. They don't teach you clue one on how to exercise that right. And the only way you could exercise that right would be filing a lawsuit against somebody. So how can we go through 12 years of school and they don't teach us how to file a basic lawsuit, how to protect ourselves? How when they send that freaking paperwork that your county, your township sends that paperwork in the mail to you, how to respond to that? They don't want you to know that. They want to keep you dumbed down. So people like we're talking about. Remember we said the administrative courts and there's judicial courts, and they're pulling people into these administrative courts.
Yeah.
People are walking in, they're thinking, I got these constitutional rights. And they're watching the judge do something completely opposite from the Constitution. And they think, this must be some nefarious thing going on, okay? Right. And then somehow people have decided that there's just a secret trust account and they're writing money on the trust. And this stuff just takes on a life of its own because the people can't put the pieces together. It's no more complicated than this. It's no more complicated than listen, administrative things, they were for a reason. They were set up by the state so that agencies could deal with agencies. So when agency A had a problem with agency B, they could hash it out in administrative court. That was not meant for you or me. We have rights. We're supposed to be in the judicial court where our rights are protected. They move you in an administrative court. Administrative courts run strictly by statute. The legislature controls the agencies. They control the agencies through statutes. They write statutes saying how that agency works. So if it's not in the statute, they don't know what to do with it, basically, in administrative court. It's got to be in the statute. Everything's by statute. Well, obviously, that doesn't apply to us because the way a typical process would work is that they would send you a notice saying, hey, there's a judgment against you. They filed a municipal claim against you, and there's a judgment against you. In other words, they've already done the do. They've already done it. They've already decided there was never a service of process, never gave you a chance to defend yourself, and you never had a trial by jury, which is an inviolate right. You have a permanent right to that. So obviously that process is not for you, okay? Couldn't be. It violates your rights. But people have gotten so beat up with this over the years, through traffic tickets, through the code guy messing with him for putting a roof on his house, or he put a door on without a permit or whatever. People have gotten so beaten down that they're looking for this magic document, this magic way out, Kalina. And hey, listen, if I identify myself as American state national, well then I'm okay. If I revoke my United States citizenship, well, now I'm not a United States citizen. The IRS code doesn't apply to me. So they're looking for these magic bullet solutions. And there's a million guys out there. They're snake oil salesmen. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The guys in the 1800s to bring the carts around, and they sold the elixirs. Hey, this elixir cures everything. That's who they are. Okay? They're going to send you. They're going to sell you an affidavit. Hey, there's guys out there selling affidavits. $50 for my affidavit. You know, here's what it does. We just talk about affidavits. You know what affidavits are? They're just factual statements. Go write it up yourself. Put a Jurat on it. You have an affidavit. Why are you paying this guy $50? Why do you need his? You know, so it's a market out there. People are looking for that silver bullet solution. They're going to shoot the werewolf with the silver bullet and make it go away, and that's not how it works. You've heard the term "freedom's not free." Okay, this is what that means. You've got to work for this stuff. Listen, I don't want to get into doing this. Like Steve said, I don't want to do this. You know? I want to follow my wife, ride my bikes, play my keyboards, and race my car. You know, I don't want to be doing this stuff. You get forced into this, like you got forced into your thing. You don't want to get into it. They force you into it. And then you have an option. Do I fight back or do I just go along with it? And if you want to fight back, well, sorry to tell you, you've got to put a little work into this. Go take the jurisdictionary course. It's the most Steve started with it. I started. Brandon started with it. We all use it. We still refer back to it, okay? It'll give you the fundamentals. It'll teach you how to defend against the suit and how to write a suit. It'll teach you what a motion is, when it's got to be answered, how to answer it. These are things you need to know because right now you're taught to go get an attorney. And even if you want to get an attorney to defend you for something, if you don't understand how law works or how the courts work or what rights are, how to exercise things, you don't know if that attorney is doing the right thing for you or not, do you? You have no idea. You just know that he's dealing with the other attorney. Clean, I've had people come to me that they've spent $10,000, $15,000 on an attorney. And I asked, well, did he file a motion to dismiss? No, he didn't do nothing. You spent 10, 15 grand. One motion to even try and get the case out of it or try and knock the case out. Nope, he did nothing. Now, if you had jurisdictionary course and you hired an attorney to defend you, and you're watching this guy sitting on his rear end, not doing nothing, hey, buddy, how come you don't file any motions? File a motion to dismiss. You would know what the process is, what he's supposed to be doing. Because he's not going to help you out. Okay? He's going to try and create as few waves as possible for himself and get paid in some way, I've seen accident things where they come back to somebody and say, listen, I think we should take the $15,000. I think that's all we can get.
Oh, right.
He wants the 15 grand because he's got to do no more paperwork. He's going to get his little cut. And guess what? You might have been doing the 15 grand. You might have been getting 1.5 million if you actually went to court and went into this case. So that guy, that attorney is not your buddy. So I tell people, take the jurisdictionary course. Best $250 you can spend. You're going to have this stuff for the rest of your life. This is not something you're going to take and put on the side. You're going to be involved in this stuff for the rest of your life because you're dealing with government, you're dealing with cops, you're dealing with the local, the tax bills, whatever. You're dealing with these people constantly. You need to know how to defend yourself and how to go on the offensive against them. And I say, we are the other half of the jurisdictionary course. Jurisdictionary course will teach you the fundamentals. We do the things that Dr. Graves cringes about. He cringes the stuff we do because he don't want to admit it, but he knows it's damn effective. But he ain't gonna tell you that. And he'll tell people, you don't want to file that. No. Listen, we have knocked more attorneys around with bar grievances, judges with judicial complaints, state criminal complaints. We scared the hell out of people. Okay, we are the other 50%. So when you take what he teaches you, the by the book legal stuff, that any document you write will be acknowledged by a court. It's going to be cognizant. The other side's going to know what you're doing. They're going to know what you're writing. They're going to have to answer you. Okay, it's not this crazy stuff where you file some crazy paperwork and you wonder why you didn't get an answer. I filed an affidavit into the case. I didn't get an answer. Well, you're not supposed to get an answer with an affidavit. Affidavit's not a document to get you an answer. If you took your affidavit and attached it to what? A motion, well, now you would have had to have gotten an answer, okay? So He'll teach you that part of it. We'll teach you the guerrilla warfare part of it. We're going to throw the grenade. Hey, here you go, paper cuts. Here, Mr. Attorney. There's about 50 paper cuts for you. I know your insurance is going up. So by the time he knew, he goes, at a certain point, he'll go, this guy's a nightmare to deal with, okay? And here's the beautiful part about it. When I was in court with the new attorney, I put the bar grievance on the court docket. I filed it into the record because I wanted it on public record because I had his address on there, okay? It had the bar grievance, and I had his home address on there, which they don't like their home address being in public records. So now his address is on public records. He came into the court. First thing out of his mouth to the judge was, Mr. Faggiolo's found bar grievances into the case, Judge. Like how unfair it was, I'm sitting there laughing. I'm smiling, Judge looks at me. He looks away. Judge didn't say peep. You know why? He can't tell me, Mr. Faggiolo, you can't file bar grievances into it. He can't tell me what to do with that case. I have a right to make my own record. And if I think putting his illegality, this judge, this bar member, this attorney, I think putting his illegality on does good, I'm going to let the people know, here, it's public record now. Go search Mr. So-and-so's record. Look what he does, Go copy my stuff and go file it against him again, So that's the power of this is getting the basics down with the jurisdictionary course, taking what we do through the Telegram group. And like I said, we're nightmare people. We file stuff and we make people as hell. We have a right to do that. We're only exercising our rights. We're using the system that's in place, okay? I know the bar is going to cover up and throw my bar agreements away, but I know the insurance company is going to get notified, and he's going to have to answer some questions on why is this guy filing bar grievances against you? Geez, looks like this guy's going to sue you. He's filing all this stuff against you. We're going to have to raise your rates.
Yeah, you're hitting them where it hurts, And one of the things that I really like about your approach specifically, it feels like there's, I'm a real energetic, sensitive person. And with all the other stuff that I have paid exorbitant fees for the Patriot Mythology stuff because I just didn't know any better. And I was just genuinely, with the pureness of my heart, seeking solutions.
You were trying to buy the silver bullet. That's all.
And what's so different about the methods that you speak about versus the methods that others teach is that right here, you're giving us clear steps, action steps, solutions of how to, hit them where it hurts. And
you can do it tomorrow. You can start tomorrow. That's how easy it is. Hey, listen, the easiest way to get involved in this, if you want to get the easiest way, go look at your state's record request process. Every state's got one. They all have a record request process. Go start, jump in our group, whatever, and go do whatever. You want to do property taxes? Go do record requests asking for, provide me a record of the situs for this property. Provide me a copy of the return for the property. Just to start getting your feet wet and seeing how they respond back to you. The thing with the record request, listen, the most basic thing we don't have that record. But every now and then, you get these people that they will answer questions or they will elaborate where they really shouldn't have elaborated. And now they dig a deeper hole for themselves because they tell you, we're following USPAP guidelines for assessment. Oh, great. Thank you very much. Because now I go to USPAP and I get their guidelines and I go, well, wait a minute. I'm looking at this assessments you're putting on people's houses. You're only using market value. According to USPAP, you got to have 3 elements. And those 3 elements, here's what they don't want you to know. It's also in the statutes that they're supposed to be following. Here's the 3 elements of a property assessment. It's market value, what the property's selling for. But ballpark what this property is for. It's replacement costs, including depreciation. When you file, do you depreciate your house every year, Kalina?
Yeah, I think so. Well, unless I'm remodeling it, then I'm appreciating it.
I'm saying you don't file any documents. You don't depreciate.
Oh,
when you file tax order, you don't depreciate your house. Okay, who depreciates me and buildings, businesses, don't they? If I'm a business, I got printing presses. Okay, each year they go down in value. Okay, they get older, whatever. So I depreciate them on my taxes. So that's the second element of a property valuation is replacement cost, depreciation. Well, I don't have replacement costs for my home for my stuff in my home. And the third part is income. You have an income? You doing any income in your house there, Kalina? You using your house for income?
Well, I'm a little bit of a different case because I have an Airbnb in the downstairs duplex, but my actual living quarters, no.
But that's not income. As long as you're not registered with the state as a business, you don't have a business license, you're allowed to rent out your property. That's your that See, you have a right to make a living. That's what the pursuit of happiness is, basically. You have a right to pursue happiness. I mean, that really means the right to make a living. I have rental properties, okay? And when I was in court, the judge said to me, he knew, he listen, I know this is all commercial. I gotta have a registered business. I gotta be conducting a registered business with those properties. I know that. He knew I knew it, okay? The judge knew it. The attorney really wasn't clued in yet what was going on. So when my parents died, I didn't switch over to the deeds. I didn't have to. The properties come right to me. I don't need to tell anybody about anything. So the judge says to me, well, do you have any siblings? And like he wanted to try and complicate it. I said, not only child, Judge. Big smile on my face. He starts grinning. He knew exactly where he was going with this. And he said, well, he goes, Mr. Faggiolo, he said, you don't live at this property, right? You don't live at this property, do you? I said, nope, live in Aston, Judge. He said, he goes, he's fishing now. He goes, what do you lease it out? Do you rent it? I say, it's immaterial to the case, Judge. It's irrelevant. He said, he puts his head down. He goes, well, maybe it is. He said, maybe it is. And I said, Judge, it's none of your business. It's none of his business. It's none of his client's business. It's none of the state's business. What I do with my property. It's my property. Silence in the court. Nobody responds. You know why? Because that's what I know what property rights are. I got American jurisprudence. I read what property rights are. Okay? Property rights mean that's my property, the exclusion of all others. What part of exclusion do you people not understand? Why does the borough think because I decided to take my property and do something with it that they get a piece of it? They don't, okay? If I was say I was a developer or whatever, and I had 20, 30, 40, 50 properties, whatever, and I had a state license, registered as whatever, Faggiolo, and I'm using it to write, tax stuff off, then they would have a situs with that property, okay? That property, they would have a nexus to that property. Then they could tax that property. Because I'm using that property to what, Kalina? Get income. That's generating income, okay? That's what income is. It's business income. You using your property or your balance or whatever, your labor, that's not income. That's your labor that you're trading or your property that you're letting somebody use. It doesn't create a nexus or a situs with the state. It's two separate things. You're not using it as a business. So when you know this stuff, this is how you jam them up because, listen, this stuff starts to get, it's a pain in the ass writing this paperwork, but it actually gets fun after a while because, I'm going to really jam this guy up with this. Like Monday, we're going to go down to, here's the funniest part. I filed 4 criminal complaints with the district attorney in Delaware County. First one was against the sewer authority. Now get this. Sewer authority, you can't tax. Okay, they have no taxing authority. So when I filed the criminal complaint against them, the detective that called me up, he kept saying that the attorney said it's a tax, and he kept calling it a tax. And I kept correcting him. No. Sewer authorities cannot tax. Okay, they can't tax. So it can't be a tax. Did they put any effort into that investigation? If I figured that out right away that they have no taxing authority, you think the DA's office really investigated that? No. So what I did is I sent a copy also to the state attorney general. Okay, the AG writes me back. The attorney general actually writes me back and says, "Hey, listen, Mr. Faggiolo, wait, that pursuant to the statute, we can't just assume jurisdiction in this matter. We need the DA to refer the case to us." Great. So I got that letter from them and I put it on the side. And I was going to do something, but I just hadn't gotten around to it. And I was wondering, I filed another 3 criminal complaints after that against different entities, and I hadn't heard anything back. And I'm thinking, where did my criminal complaints go? They just sort of disappeared. No more phone calls, no more letters, no more nothing. So a new girl in the office takes over. She's the administrator, the DA. She calls me up the other day. She says, "Mr. Faggiolo, I recognize your name." Oh, okay. She said, "I think you weren't putting your phone number on the other criminal complaints." Well, of the other 3, I left it off at just one. Okay, so my number was on her, but she wasn't trying to like be mean or like, she was just making a point that, listen, I think this is why maybe you weren't getting calls back. I said, okay, great. So she said, can you do me a favor? I said, absolutely. She said, can you send me those criminal complaints again? And I'll look into them, find out what happened. No problem. So I sent her, she wanted an email. So I sent her an email with the 3 criminal complaints that weren't answered yet. And I took that letter I'm telling you about from the AG, and I said, oh, by the way, hey, Mary, by the way, heads up. See that with the sewer authority that was denied? It's coming right back to you, okay? I'm going to need you to turn it over to the state attorney general for investigation because, listen, obviously the DA, for whatever reason, I said it's a conflict of interest for them. Listen, that's a county agency. They're a county agency, the DA. So whatever, the county agency doesn't want to investigate the municipalities in the county. They don't want to investigate that sewer authority. It's a municipality. It's part of the county. I said, listen, I said, I know they didn't investigate this because just what I told you. Listen, they kept telling me this is a tax, Mr. Faggiolo, and I kept telling them, no, sewer authorities can't tax. They can't tax in Pennsylvania. So obviously, Mary, the DA's office did not investigate this. They couldn't. No way they could have missed that most basic element. So, Mary, I'm going to need you to get this criminal complaint that I'm sending back to you now. I'm going to need you to refer that to the state attorney general. No, here's the letter. She's willing to take she already stated in there, she's willing to take it as long as they refer it to him. So I'm going to need you to forward to them. So what did I just do? Not that anyone's going to get in trouble. Not that I expect them to come lock these people up, okay? That's not going to happen. I just do. I just took the county and I got outside. Now I got state eyes on them. Now I got the attorney general. I've gotten their attention. They know now, like, in other words, now the district attorney knows that I'm in touch with the attorney general. Not only am I in touch with them, look, I got a goddamn letter from them where she stated, here's the best part. This is back in January when this happened. She said, I called ahead and told the district attorney to expect your criminal complaint to come in. So she actually called them beforehand. So now they know I got sort of a communication with the attorney general's office. That makes them nervous. Why does it make them nervous? Because they have no control over what the attorney general is going to do. The state attorney general is going to do, okay? They don't know what's going to happen now because I got them nailed with listen, there's no way you guys investigated this because you're telling me it's a tax and they can't tax. So there's no way you people investigated this. So now they got to cross their T's and dot their I's with me. Now they know that if they don't do their job right, I'm going to the state attorney general now. Is that going to get anybody arrested? No. Here's what it's going to do. It's going to put the fear of God in a couple people because now they know that I'm just not another monkey.
Yeah.
Around, okay? That I'm throwing paperwork around that's getting people's attention, okay? I threw enough of a complaint around that the assistant attorney general looked at it and went, hey, we would look at this, but we can't until the DA refers it to us. Instead of them turning around saying, Mr. Faggiolo, we can't do nothing with this. That's not what the AG said. They said, hey, listen, we'll look at this, but we just can't assume jurisdiction. We need the DA to handle it. That's a lot different than saying we can't do nothing with this.
Mm-hmm.
That should make them nervous now because now they know that you're taking that little cocoon and it's like the pebble in the lake where you throw the pebble and it starts to ripple out. The ripples are getting bigger and bigger, and the biggest ripple is going to be the federal district court when they get sued in federal district court under 83, and then they get to come into court and explain, Kalina, how they're sending me bills that are not taxes and there's no contract for service. So what is this? Here's the funny part with this whole sewer authority thing. Here's where you can affect change. I've lived here for 30 years. On the back of every bill, every time you get a sewer bill from the sewer authority, threats on the back. If you don't pay this, you could lose your property. Like this whole thing. You had the whole thing there. Threats. Guess what's not on the back of the sewer bills anymore, Kalina?
Ooh, really? They took it off.
Took it off. It's white paper. Because I started calling it in record requests to go, hey, you're threatening me. We're not threatening you. What is this language? We're going to place a lien against your house. What did I say? I said, sure the hell looks like a threat to me. So not only is it a threat, Kalina, isn't that a threat through the U.S. mail? Isn't it a threat? Isn't that mail fraud?
Yeah, mail fraud.
Is that? Did we ever have a case, me and the sewer authority, where it was adjudicated that I owed them money? No. Yet they're sending me bills, and they're telling me if I don't pay it, Hey, listen, we're gonna. Yeah, that sounds like extortion to me. Hey, Kalina, I'm gonna send you this bill, and if you don't pay it, I'm gonna do all this bad stuff to you, Kalina. Is that gonna work for you? That's called extortion through the mail. Okay, that's a 20-year sentence. Okay, so this is how you jam them up. It's just knowing the basics of what they're supposed to be doing, and I guarantee times out of doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you don't need to get into this Patriot silver bullet things. I'm an American State National, and I'm this. One night we're in the chat, me and Sib, me and Big Sib, me and Brandon, and a guy jumps on the chat real time. He's got his girlfriend's got the police at the door with an arrest warrant. Okay, and she's got a kid, which is sad. She's got a kid, and he's asking, well, what should she do? What should she do? What are they there for? Well, here's what happened. They had a court case came out. Like one of these court cases, you got a hearing. They filed their American State National paperwork into the case, okay? And they thought that was good enough. So they just filed their American State National paperwork and just turned them to it. Well, that got an arrest warrant, bench warrant from the court, and they sent the cops out there, and they arrested her and took the kid, put him in whatever, protective services until they got the mother. That's not how you do that, okay? You don't just file your American State National paperwork in there and go, I'm free from everything. I'm not subject. No.
Yeah. And the thing is that when you do these kinds of things and then you go try to reach out to these so-called mentors that you just paid thousands of dollars for, they're not there.
Did you notice that?
Did you
notice that?
Oh yeah, I've seen so many people, even in the temple, like, oh, I'm getting evicted. The cops are here throwing my stuff out on the lawn, and they're calling their mentors and they're getting blocked. And it just crushes my soul. And yeah, I think it's really important that we start waking up our people. And you're a perfect example of how to get actual results with techniques. And yes, it does require personal accountability and responsibility. And yes, it requires you to do the hard work. But the thing is that it's only hard at the beginning, like anything new.
Sure.
All this Patriot mythology stuff, it gets harder and more complex as time builds. The complexity over time shows that is a psyop, because you can't nail down anything solid. This is a method. It's very clear. You study this, you do this, you get a result, and then you repeat. And I mean, you might have to repeat a lot, especially in today's world, to get the results that we're hoping with a world full of tyranny, like we just saw over the last 2.5, 3 years. But we are almost approaching the end of our time together, and I'm hoping that we can open this up for some Q&A.
Sure.
I don't know if anybody here on the call has specific questions, but if you do, how this is going to work, basically just make sure your devices are connected. I see 3 people in the chat don't have them connected. And then you can just type in this little chat right here, and I'll pull you into the stream and you can ask your question. Does anybody have any questions to start with, or specific cases that they want to talk about, that they're going through, that they want advice from somebody who is not going to shill you for thousands of your dollars? Laurel has a question. Laurel, go ahead and connect. I'm going to take Justin first, and then Laurel, while you connect your stuff, I'm going to add Justin to the stream, and I'm going to unmute your mic. Justin, hello, welcome. Go ahead.
What's up, Justin?
Can you hear me okay? Hi.
Yep.
Hi. I just want to say thank you so much, Alphonse. I've been in the Telegram chat for a little bit now, and I think I've listened to every one of your Crow episodes, some of them multiple times. I have a particular issue, and I mentioned this in the chat about a gym that I've been a member of. Who recently denied me service based off of vaccination and medical intervention. I was so flustered by all the information and how to properly approach this. I know that you had mentioned in the group to use I think it was Steve Emerson's school vax.
School vax not.
I really couldn't figure out how to properly word that. And I basically just wanted to send them a letter kind of not in a kind of official capacity, just thinking, if I made these points, maybe they would meet me halfway, Unfortunately, I got a response that was basically like, we've terminated your membership and this is what we're going to do for health and safety. And so I guess I'm a little confused on the lawsuit process when it comes to a private business or a private party versus like, specifically state or federal. And also sort of like, so I write the affidavit, then I would be filing it with.
They're going to ignore you. The affidavit, they're going to ignore. You would want to stay, since it's a private entity, like you said, you're going to stay in state court. You can even use municipal courts if you want, but you would sue them in there. You need to find a cause of action. Graves has about 30, 40 of them listed in there, but you're looking sort of, that's like, to me, that's it's denial of service. It's discrimination. Because there is no law that says you have to listen. That gym is responsible for. Here's the things they're responsible for: adequate lighting, that the floor is safe, that the machines are safe. Anything they can control that they're responsible for. They can't make healthcare decisions for you. They can't make medical decisions for you. Yet that they think that's what they can do. The reason we told you the school vax document that Steve wrote is you modify that, but it's the nature of that document. If you see in there, he's asking for a point of clarification. He's asking for what legal authority are they doing this under? In other words, are they just going to turn around and say, well, it's our if you're black people in the gym, we don't want any black people in the gym. That's our policy. Well, but it's illegal. Well, it doesn't matter. It's our policy. It's the same thing here. Just because it's their policy, it's got to be legal. Okay. If their policy is, hey, listen, you got to wear shoes when you come in here. We don't want bare feet. Okay. That's a policy. That's fine. It's not discriminatory. But when they start saying, hey, listen, Justin, you got to have a vaccination or you got to wear a mask when you're in here. Well, now they're getting involved in your healthcare decisions. Now they're making literally healthcare choices for you. I would sue them for basically, I would sue them in the state. And hit me up in the Telegram. I'll go through some cause of action in there that you can go over. You need at least one cause of action. I'm sure we could pull about 3 or 4 up. And you would assume as soon as you get your suit started, here's the problem. When you get that suit filed, they've got to explain how their policies that they can sort of intervene in your healthcare decisions, that their policy can somehow make you be vaccinated or wear a mask to come. That's a public accommodation, right? As long as you pay the fee, you can come in. It's not a private club or anything. So that's where their problem comes, is when you actually listen. Steve, I think he did like 25 of these with the mask stuff when that was going on in Florida. He was getting like $15,000-$20,000 a settlement when somebody would get kicked out of a store. So this is pretty much the same thing like that. Like that, they're telling you got to be vaccinated or you got to wear a mask to come in there and work out at the gym, which is ridiculous. So you would want to sue them in state court.
Who was getting that? Steve Emerson?
Yeah, Steve was getting about $20,000 a settlement. They were getting somebody, and that's why Florida was one of the first states they relaxed a lot of the mask policy, because they were getting sued. He said he was doing it up where he's at in Orlando. And he said guys in Lower Florida were doing it also. So they were getting hit from like both sides of the state, where there was 2 groups hitting them, and they figured we better stop. Listen, the insurance company probably told them, hey, listen, knock it off with this stuff. You're getting sued and we're paying these settlements, So it's the same thing as what he's coming up against. You need to sue them basically, and you need to have them come in, and they're going to have trouble giving you a legal basis on why their policy somehow supersedes your right to autonomy of your body. That we can make them get a vaccination to use our gym. That's ridiculous. So you want to file a state suit. You got to file a state suit.
If I might just ask 2 quick questions on that.
Sure.
So in my informal letter, I made all of those points. I literally use verbiage like, I've never accepted medical advice from any employee. I've never been told it was supplying my medical information was conditional on operating at the gym. And so one question, in this particular case, would I, with the lawsuit, am I trying to aim at the specific people who are?
No, you always want we call them the respondent, respondeat, respondent superior. That means the person in charge. Okay, so you want the gym owner, whoever owns the gym. Is it a company? Is it a guy who owns it? Is it a corporation?
Yeah, it's a guy. It's just
And you would sue him. He'd be responsible for his employees.
Would I also, because the letter I got back was from their I forget, it's someone that they've it's the person who runs the policy in the gym. I guess that that's their title or something. Would I try to
you got that letter? You still got that letter, right? They
got an email.
Oh, an email. Good. Hold on to that.
Yeah.
So now you got somebody who's not an attorney who's basically making legal determinations about what they can do to you as far as not coming to that gym. So hold on to that too. That's valuable. But you want to sue the gym owner. He's really the main guy you go for. The underlings, it's not what they're just doing what they're told. And as long as they didn't put hands on you, if somebody put hands on you, that's a whole different animal. Okay. As long as somebody to get physical with you, that's a whole different animal. But if it's just a policy and that's why they kicked you out, you go sue the gym owner.
So, so in this case, would I send my affidavit to the gym owner?
No affidavit. It's a lawsuit. You go file a lawsuit.
But would I send that before I begin the lawsuit, or would I try to?
You have two options. Listen, you could either Steve likes just to basically attack. No warning, no fair warning, attack.
Well, at this point, I sent them a letter, so I feel like I've been completely disregarded. So now,
anything else you probably send is going to be also probably disregarded. So I would just go right to the lawsuit. And so you made a good faith, and you could actually bring that up in your pleading. You made a good faith effort, and before in other words, you're only here in the court system because you made a good faith effort to resolve this with them before you had to sue them. They don't want to hear it. Is why you have no option but to use the court resolution process to make this thing right, So you would just sue the owner so that he would get served a copy of the lawsuit. And same thing, you would have a process server. You write the suit up. You're going to file it with your local court, your state court. You're going to sue him. It's going to have 1, 2, or 3 causes of action. And we'll try and plead them out the right way. And then he'll get served. And then he's got to make a decision on how he wants to handle this, okay? He can try and give an answer, but it's not going to be a real good answer because there is no law that says you got to have a vaccination or you got to have a mask to go into a gym. And to me, it's an unreasonable policy to say that, to me, it's a discrimination that you're telling people that they can't come into a public accommodation, your gym, unless they have certain things. It's like saying, hey, I don't want any black people in my gym. It's no different. If that's your policy, it's no different, really. You're discriminating against somebody that's not vaccinated against somebody that is. So you just want to sue him, and what'll happen is he'll have, check your state, usually probably about 20 days to answer. He'll have 20 days to give you an answer. And the way an answer works is when you file your suit, you're going to plead at least one cause of action. Every cause of action has certain elements. Like we talked about a contract breach earlier. Contract breach has 3 elements: duty, breach, and damages. So whatever we bring against the gym owner, that cause of action, you'll plead those elements. You'll prove those elements in your thing, and we'll do as many as we can. And then he's got to give you an answer to every one of them and explain why he's not breaking the law and what he's doing legal and where he's getting this magical legal authority to determine who can get vaccinated and who's got to be, wear a mask. And because most likely he's not going to be able to give you an answer. And hopefully what that'll do is drive them to the settlement table, and you'll come to a resolution. And, could be as simple. You decide what you want, either a money damage, whatever. Just let bygones be bygones. Let me back in the gym and let's call it a day. It could be something as simple as that. That's up to you. That's something you decide at the settlement table. But he's going to have trouble answering that lawsuit because there is no law that says you've got to be vaccinated. And there's no way you keep somebody out of a public accommodation because, you think you can make healthcare decisions for him. What if he says you got to have an Ebola virus too there while you're at it, Justin? Oh, by the way, it means you get the AIDS thing too, the AIDS shot too. Where do we stop this at? We just COVID? Do we just keep going? There's got to be a limit. And that's why, he can't do what he can do, because it would just be ridiculous. Hey, listen, you need to have these 8 vaccinations here, and it would just be ridiculous. It doesn't work. And that's why he's not that pleading when you file it. So I would assume in state court.
And I know this is sort of immaterial, but I did mention to them, and in my initial email, that I told them that I was medically exempt, and I was sort of looking into state law on discrimination.
I don't even go there. I don't.
Okay.
Exemptions. People trying you all religious exemption. No, listen. Bottom line. You can't make me have a vaccination to walk into your store, or you can't make me wear a mask to walk into your store. It's a public accommodation. You can't be involved in my healthcare choices. Listen, your responsibility for the gym owner is to make sure the machines are sturdy, that they're not going to flip over on somebody, okay? Or that the ceiling's not going to fall on you, that there's adequate lighting, that the flooring's not slippery, you're going to fall and hurt yourself. That's what he's responsible for as far as safety and health. That things are clean, that the machines are clean, that the locker room's clean. That's his responsibility. Not that he can't get involved in your healthcare decisions. Justin's not vaccinated no, that he's way out of his territory at that point. That's not his job, okay? And it's really no different than a form of discrimination. He's treating, you have a vaccinated class, he's treating as one way, and an unvaccinated class, he's treating as another way. It's no different than if I'm treating black people this way and I'm treating white people this way. It's discrimination either way you look at it. And that's really medical discrimination. And you never gave them medical power of attorney to make medical decisions for you. That's what they're doing. So I would just sue them in state court, and you sue the owner. Like I said, unless if somebody there touched you or pushed you, or that's different, then you bring them into the lawsuit. But if it's just about the policy, why they kicked you out, then you sue the owner of the gym. You just go for the owner. He's your only defendant in that matter.
But besides the jurisdictionary course, in your group, do you have maybe resources on the process of filing suit?
Do you have the jurisdictionary course, or did you take it?
I have no. I've been trying to save up for it, honestly, but I do intend to. Yeah.
Really, you can go to your local court and just get you could probably get it online right now. You can download a complaint form. Just download the complaint form, and it'll tell you. It's like a cover sheet. What you check this off, check that off. But what you're going to do is the main thing you need to do. The main thing you have to do is not worry about the process of how to file it. That's easy enough to do. You need your complaint up, the proper pleading up, so that that has at least one cause of action and the elements to prove that cause of action. And we don't do as many as possible. You do about 2 or 3, I would do with something like this. And you want to get an answer from him on why he shouldn't have to answer this suit, where he's getting this magical legal authority to tell people they got to be vaccinated to come into his gym. Because that's where his problem is going to come, is trying to find a legal basis on where he got this policy from. Like I said, his policy should be they got to be about things that are like, that hey, listen, no thongs in the gym or whatever, something like that, or no bras, you got to wear like a top, or that's his responsibility. Things like that he can control, not people's medical decisions, not like as far as somebody vaccinated or so. That's the main thing you should worry about right now, is getting the pleading together. The other part's real simple. You download a form from the court. You fill it out. It's a cover sheet. Who you're suing. Blah blah blah. What is this? A civil case? Yep, civil case. Where's it? What's his address? There's his address, and that's just a form where you pay whatever the fee is, $200, $250. I don't know what they're going to charge a local. And then you file the complaint, and you'll make a summons up for him. You can do that. We'll show you how to do that. And the clerk will stamp the summons, and then you will go get a process server. It's really anybody that's not in the suit can serve him. I think you're better getting a process server. Go pay a guy $100. Let that guy go serve them. Okay. And what he'll do is when he serves them, he goes back to the court and he files what's called an affidavit of service. He states that, hey, I served this guy, the gym owner, on this date, at this place, and he got the papers. He files an affidavit into the case. So now the court knows, no doubt about it, he was served. So now the clock starts. You got 20 days to response in 20 days. If you don't give your response, then you file for what's called a default judgment. Hey, guy never responded, judge, we need you to give me a default judgment. And that's when you'll ask for, in your suit, you'll put your remedy in there too, what you want. They say that's up to you. You want some money in this? You want to ask for money, or you just want to try and make this go away, change this policy as far as just let me back in the gym, and hey, how about giving me a year free of gym service? Something like that. Whatever you want, whatever remedy you want, you put in there. Because I think most likely this would settle in mediation, where he'll have a meeting with you. His lawyer will call you up, and you'll have a mediation, and they'll say, hey, Justin, what do we need to do to make this go away? Hey, listen, I don't really want to bust your balls. I don't want to hang you. I'm not looking to hurt your business. I like your gym. I just don't want to be discriminated against. Yeah. And you guys will come to a resolution.
I would say make him pay. But, I mean.
Well, this has been a problem for me is like remaining in honor, Kalina, and as Crow says so much. And like, I would rather scare them that I want money, but I don't want money. It's exactly what you said. I just want to be treated the way I've always been treated. I supported this gym almost at the very beginning. I used to go, like, it's a climbing gym. I used to climb with the employees there. I'm really upset by this because they're a local small business, and I've been supporting them for over 7 years.
For sure.
And you put that in your pleading. Hey, listen, I've been a loyal customer. I've supported this guy for 7 years. I've never had a problem with these people, except now we have, now they're over there making medical decisions for me. What I must and must not do to come into their business. Where does this stop? Do I have to get Ebola virus? Do I need the AIDS virus, the HPV shot? What do I need next?
Right.
Where do we stop here?
Also, Justin, like, you got to think about it too. Those of us that are aware of these things and we have the resources in our community to know how to do this, you're not just doing this for you, isolated case. You are doing this for every other person that doesn't have the ability and the voice or the resources and community to come together to do this, right? So when you go, don't just think of it for yourself. Think of it for every person you're going to help in the future. And if you really do try to like hit them where it hurts, it's not even about the money. It is about setting the precedents and how to help all the rest of the people that come after you that don't have your courage. So, I just encourage you to think about that. We really are in a position of service right now. We've been aware of all these things since the get-go. And I feel we do have a sacred duty and a fiduciary to help others that just don't have that, right? Like, but at the same time, don't burn yourself out either, obviously. But I think it's a great
James
question.
the Patriot. You've heard of James the Patriot? He's got a group also. He's in my group also. He's got a suit. I think it's still ongoing with his kid's school. Similar stuff, about so go get his suit. It's up there. He's got it posted up there. Go download his suit. Even though that's a federal suit, the elements a lot of the elements are the same you could put in your state suit, because it's all dealing with the same stuff. It's have to do with discrimination. Hey, listen, they're telling the kid he can't come to school unless he's vaccinated or he's wearing a mask. Same stuff with the gym. So you may be able to stuff he's got in that pleading in there. So go find, if it's not, you can't find it, message him, say, hey, listen, can I get a copy of your school pleading, that you did for your children? And because I think that you probably got a lot of the same elements in that, probably already written out for you, that you could cross over into your state suit. And it'll give you an overview.
I'm going to put all the links here. I'll put all the links for that group. I think most of us are already in all of them, but just in case. Justin, do you feel pretty good on your question? Can we pass it to Laurel?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Alphonse and Kalina. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Oops, sorry. Okay, Laurel, it's all you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Alphonse. I've actually been in your group. Hi. I've actually been in your group longer than I've been in the temple because I was a Crow listener and I listened to a lot of your shows before. I'm going to go ahead and say, though, that I'm almost completely confused. Brett helps me a lot if I have questions, but I'm pretty confused still about a lot of things. I feel like I'm a pretty smart person, but I'm really dumb about this stuff. Anyway,
listen, you're not dumb. You were never taught this. And listen, the only reason I pick stuff up is I got thrown in the mud with the pigs, and like I had to learn it. Like I had to see what the lawyer was doing, and then that forced me to go, look what he filed here. Let me go learn about this. That's the only reason I picked it up, because once you're forced into something, you have to learn it, and you just haven't come across this yet. You haven't had to deal with maybe certain stuff that forced you to learn this stuff, So
Yeah.
you're not.
So speaking of being forced, and the temple members have already heard this story probably ad nauseum, but I did get a traffic ticket, and I thought, well, this isn't right. I mean, usually in the past I would have just paid it or whatever, but I filed. I think it was a motion to dismiss for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. And, I got a template actually from your group, from somebody, or like from on the files page or whatever, and tried to make it my own and tried to look up the terms.
Let me ask you this real quick. Are you in Brett's traffic ticket group that he started?
No, I'm not. I actually didn't know that.
Because he just got a speeding ticket now. He's fighting this actually currently right now. So he set a special group up just for that speeding ticket, okay? He's taking from the process from the start to the end. So get in that group. It's let me see if I can find it for you here. Yeah, Brett's got a traffic ticket group, and guaranteed, there's your paperwork right there. A lot of his paperwork that he's using, you can use in yours, and you can see what he's doing.
Okay, yeah.
But
so
just expect the local guys who filed the motions denied. Okay,
yeah.
You're just setting your record. Yeah. Just understand that don't take it as like it feels defeating when you first do this. You learn this legal stuff, you're like, can't wait to get out there to try it. And then you file this stuff and you get denied. You're like, oh man, that didn't work. No, that's a criminal up there. Okay, he's acting like a criminal. So you just have to understand that the stacked deck right down here. It's a stacked deck, but you're going to run this process on for a while. We'll you pick up a couple things, and once you start filing like a judicial complaint against the judge and a bar grievance against the prosecutor, then all of a sudden people start going, oh, wait a minute, maybe we better make this ticket go away. So where are you at now? What are you?
So I've actually had one hearing. So I went to traffic court,
right?
And it was like all the way back in March, but I had a continuance because I was on vacation, and like I wasn't going to go to court for that, but I got a continuance, and I went in. And I filed and this is, like you said, when you're thrown in it with the pigs, and I'm like grasping at everything, and so somebody was like, well, you better file a motion for special appearance. So I tried to file a motion for special appearance. I probably didn't do it right. And it was kind of one of those things where there was probably a little bit of Patriot mythology mixed in there too. You mentioned earlier about the whole, like, doesn't matter if you cross the bar, because I was all like, no, I'm standing right here, and blah, 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 and
now you're just gonna make them mad. You're making the judge mad. Then now you're just pissing them off, because now you're like acting like, well, I'm not crossing there. He's looking at you like, this person's a nut.
Yeah, and it wasn't a judge. It was a couple of DAs. Like, so I don't know if that changes anything. I mean, they're all part of the bar. But
you had a hearing with no judge?
Yeah, it was 2 DAs. What the heck? Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay.
2 district attorneys? Cool.
Yeah, so it was 2 district attorneys, and then I think a person
district attorneys can't hold courts. You weren't in a court. You couldn't have been in a court. Attorney's part of the. He's not. He can't hold a court. There, you got a good ground right there. Keep going. This is getting more interesting. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm in North Carolina, and apparently that's how they do it in my county.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Oh, the law, don't worry about it. We do it this way here. Okay.
Yeah. So it was what was really kind of disheartening, because I was getting a lot of information about, like, file a complaint on the judge and everything. I was like, not only is it not a judge, but they won't even like disclose the names to me of the DAs that are going to be involved in this. So that right there, I was just like, so how do I do this? And
did you have the hearing with the DAs already? Did you have the hearing with the 2 DAs?
Yeah. So I just
have their names.
I didn't get that information from anybody. I suppose if I did like a records request, I could get.
Here's what you do. You don't need to do a record request. You go to the court. Is the court local, fairly local, or?
Yeah, it's fairly local. It's like 15 minutes away. So I was there, and they were like, I did the whole thing, and then they just looked at me like I had two heads, and then they were like, so do you want to take the $256 ticket for whatever the pleading is, or do you want this other one? And I'm like,
Want us to cut your right hand
no.
off, or would you like us to cut your left hand off? Which one you want us to cut? The right hand
Yeah.
off, or should we cut your left hand off? Please tell us.
Yeah,
You know? That's what they offered
so
you.
they said, well, you can go to district court and have it heard there. And I was like, well, okay, fine. But that's where it stands now. So it's October 20th. I'll be going to district court. But yeah, it's like every single time I'm just like, what
October
do I
20th.
do?
Try and get a continuance if you can. Okay.
Another continuance?
Try and run the clock out a little bit. Yeah, because you want to try and cause a little bit of mayhem before you go in there. It was. Let's go file some criminal complaints against the two DAs, the state criminal complaints, and let's go file bar grievances against both of them. They're both bar attorneys. So let's go file bar grievances against them because they're holding private courts. You know, they held a private court. Listen, you go look in your state constitution, you have a right to trial by jury. Hey, I showed up. I'm expecting a trial by jury pursuant to article that is in your state constitution. Here it's section 6. Hey, I showed up for a trial here, and there's two DAs holding their own private court. Whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Hey, bar grievances against each DA and state criminal complaints against them for official oppression, or I don't know, North Carolina uses official misconduct. Some states use official oppression, some use official misconduct. Basically, means is it's a violation against your rights. What they did, they violated your rights. Okay, they brought you into a quasi-judicial process. That's not a judicial process. When two DAs are acting like a judge saying, hey, listen, you want us to cut your right hand off or should we cut your left hand off? Which one you want? That's not a judicial process you're in, okay? That's why they said, oh, well, you can go to district court. Why did they even bring you into that little charade to start off with? Why didn't this even start? Why didn't this start in the court from the first place? Why did we go right to district court? Why did we go to this little DA charade? Because I can't find anything in the state constitution where it states that, well, if you have a matter happens, there's two DAs you meet with, and they make you an offer. This is administrative law process they made up, okay? This is all crap, the stuff that they're doing there. So I would bang them, file complaints against them, two state criminal complaints against each one of them, and two bar grievances against each one of them. And generally what I'll do is I'll make the bar grievance, I'll attach the state criminal complaint to the bar grievance. Because there's a rules of professional conduct for them. It states that they can't do anything illegal or criminal. So I find that number, whichever one that is, and I say, hey, so-and-so, attorney so-and-so violated 3.14, illegal action. And here's the state criminal complaint, see attached. So it's a sort of a twofer. Just write the state criminal complaints up, write it against the one, it's the same for the other, you just change the name. Then find out your local process. I usually send them right to the district attorney, the county district attorney. I send them to the county district attorney and take copy of those state criminal complaints. Then you're going to write two bar grievances up, one for each of them, and attach each criminal complaint to one of them and send that into the bar association. That'll get their attention. And also what I would do is send copies to them to let them know I did it. All right. I like to let them know that I'm filing this crap. You know, but if you can get that case pushed back, that will start to stir the pot a little bit. That may start to get their attention that you're going to be a pain in the ass over this traffic ticket.
I don't even like this is, I don't know. I'm still kind of on that line between balls out and just like super afraid. Like, what will they do to me?
No, listen, these are good. These are good to get your feet wet on. There's very low risk traffic tickets. They're either going to find you guilty or not, and you're either going to pay the fine or you're not. You have no risk here. Okay.
Okay. So, because I'm already thinking like, okay, so first of all, what if I ask for the names? Like, if I go to clerk of court and I ask them, so who were the DAs that were overseeing the traffic court on such and such a date? You know, and they don't give it to me or something. You know, they're like, we can't give you that information.
No. Or, you go to court. You go to the court. You got the number, right? You got the docket number, the case number.
They didn't even give me that. They didn't give me case number. Well, I have the traffic. I have the traffic ticket number. I have the citation number, but no, I have nothing.
Go to that court. That didn't even sound like a court. Go to the court and ask them for every document related to this. So is there a file on this Give me a certified copy of every document you have on this.
Okay.
This sounds like a magisterial court. They're like the low end courts.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't keep records, or they don't keep good records. Okay, but I would go there at a minimum, ask for a copy of everything they have on this citation. Give me all the record, all the documents have been filed regarding this citation number. If they say, well, we don't have anything else but that, say, okay, great. Who were the 2 DAs that were in the hearing? I need their names. They have to give you their names. I need to have their names, because I'm moving this to district court. I need to know who these people are. Make sure to give you the names. If they don't give you the names, you raise holy hell. Then you do then you ask for a continuance, because you don't. These people are depriving you from information. You can't defend yourself properly. You need this information before the hearing on the 20th of October. But go there, ask for every document related to that citation, and you're going to probably have to ask for their names, paper, their names on it. Tell them, I need the names of the 2 DAs that showed up to this hearing on this date. I need their names.
Mhm.
See what she says to you. See what they say. Then you'll take that motion you filed. I didn't see the motion. Put it back in the group. Let us look at it. Go get into Brett's group and go follow Brett's. I'm sure Brett's got his motion up there. You pretty much want to follow the same thing he did. Okay, just take his motion, change the names, and do the same thing Brett's doing. Just file Brett's paperwork into your case, his motion. Whatever Brett did in his speeding ticket, you do in your case. Use the same exact motion Brett used in your case. But you filed it with the district court.
And when you say district court, you mean federal district court, right?
You said, didn't they say you can go to the district court?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really even know the strata, but like they're like, oh, you're going to do district court. It's down the hall. It's in the same building. So I was like, is it federal or is it? Or is there another district court?
Wait. You had this meeting with these 2 guys, okay?
Yes.
And they said, oh, you got to go to district court if you want to. Where is it right now? Are they saying you still owe the money? I mean, are they begging you for the money?
Yeah, I guess so. Like I wasn't given anything when I walked out of there, and they just said, yeah, district court, it'll be 9:30 on October 20th. It's that the number of that room right down the hall.
Okay. So now you got district court. Okay. Now you want to file your motion. Whatever Brett filed in this case, you want to file in, just like you're starting all over again, where you filed your motion to this one. But I would do Brett's motion. Take Brett's motion and file it into that district court. But you need to tell them, you need the names of the 2 DAs, because you got to send them a copy of the motion to dismiss. You send a copy into the court. You send a copy to the DAs, whoever the prosecutor is. The 2 DAs, sounds like they're the prosecutors in this case. You need their names, because you need to send them a copy of the motion to dismiss. They got to give you an answer. So you send a copy to the 2 DAs. You send a copy to the court. And like I said, I think you probably just go in there and use Brett's exact motion. Whatever he filed, remove name, put new name in, and file it, because it's going to be the same exact matter.
Okay, yeah, that's great to know. So I will definitely, like, I don't want to take up any more of your time on that. I will definitely, like, reach out to Brett and get in Brett's group.
Jump in the group and jump in. Just type, hey, I was the one on the interview, and what's Brett's group? And I'll put the link in there for you.
Awesome.
He's got a whole group just for that traffic ticket. He's got the whole group set up just for that traffic ticket. So you can see everything he did from start to finish in his traffic ticket.
And that's awesome too, because like I know that there's so much information in your group, it can almost become overwhelming. It almost seems like there needs to be like little smaller groups that come up, because it's like everything gets lost in the thread, and even if you're doing a search, it's really hard to find things. But like, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that he set something up.
If you stay with this in time, it sort of gets like, you remember the Matrix where the code's going by? You know, you see the guy, they're sitting there and you see the code going by, and the one guy's seeing pictures and the other guy's just seeing a bunch of crap on it. He goes, like, that'll become like that in the group, basically. Like, when you see this stuff enough, the flow of the group it'll be second nature. You go, oh, that's this. You'll understand it. So it'll become you're going on in the group. Somebody do this, it can be overwhelming, because there's like 10 cases going on. This guy's talking about this property case, and this one's about this traffic ticket, and it sort of gets a little mishmash. But it's all the same principles. They're all doing the same stuff. They're filing motions into the case. They're making their record. That's all they're doing. They know they're probably going to get screwed down here in this little court. You're going to get screwed most likely. And here's what I want you to do. File Brett's motion into that district court and send a copy to whoever the prosecutor is. They got to let you know who it is. I would assume it's the 2 DAs. I would get their names and send them a copy of the motion. So then once you do that, now let's go write some state criminal complaints up against the 2 DAs. Let's write 2, and really going to write one up, and it's going to be the same one for the other district attorney because he did the same stuff. Let's write special oppression or conduct. Look in your state, North Carolina. See what they use. Do a search, official oppression or official misconduct. They use one or the other, okay? And you read it, and it's basically what official oppression is or official misconduct. It's a violation of your rights. They did something that violated your rights. So that's a crime in each state. So you would write a criminal complaint up against the 2 DAs, and once you write them up, you're going to file them with they're the DAs. You really can't send them to the DAs. Now you can really have fun. Write the criminal complaints up against the 2 district attorneys, and we're going to send them to the district attorney's office and say, hey, given the obvious conflict of interest here, that the criminal complaints are against the district attorney, there's no way the DA's office can investigate the 2 district attorneys. I'm going to need you to turn this over to the state attorney general for investigation, like I'm doing with the sewer authority. I'm going to need you guys. You guys can't investigate yourselves. Here's the criminal complaints. Oh, by the way, they're against you 2 guys. I need you to turn these over to state attorney general, somebody that can do a fair and impartial investigation, because obviously you guys can't investigate your. You just file 2. Listen, nothing's going to happen to you by doing this. People think that there's going to be retribution. No. When you file stuff against people, they do this. They back up, okay? They don't charge at you. They back up. They get scared, okay? File the 2 criminal complaints against the DAs. Ask them to be forwarded to the state attorney general. That'll really rattle their ass, okay? Because they're not used to seeing this for a traffic ticket. Also, we're going to take the complaints. Now we're going to do bar grievances. We'll help you with that too. We'll pick the number out for you in North Carolina. And you'll say, hey, see the attached criminal complaint. Now you already got the bar grievance written. So-and-so violated code, blah, 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 blah. See attached criminal complaint. Now you got your bar grievance done, okay? So now, before you ever go into this court on the 20th, you've got your motions filed. 2 criminal complaints filed against the DAs that you're asking to be sent to the state attorney general, and you got 2 bar grievances against the DAs filed. You're a pain in their ass right now, okay? You're going to be a pain in their ass. So now they got to determine what the hell they want to do with you on the 20th, or if you can get it pushed back. I would try and get it pushed back a couple of weeks, but they got to determine what they want to do with you, because you don't look like you're going away. You look like you're going to cause a shit show here. You're just going to keep filing paperwork against people. And that's what you want to do with them. You want them to back away from you. My God, we brought this woman in. She filed 2 criminal complaints against us, 2 bar grievances against us, and she's got a motion into the case already. You're a pain in the ass. That's what you want to be. You want to be a thorn in their side. You could have a lot of fun with this. Being that they're the DAs, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Because now, when you file them criminal complaints with the DA, you got to go, hey, first find your criminal process in North Carolina. A lot of times they'll have you file with a lower court. Like they tell us we're supposed to file with the local magistrate court. And then if the judge decides that there's probable cause, they turn it over to the district attorney, and then they take it from there. So check North Carolina what the process is on a citizen filing a criminal complaint. Who does it go to? And you might have to file with a local court. Okay, that's fine. But here's the funny part. You file with the local court. Same thing we're going to put in there. When you file, where we have to file it, with the local court, or if you file it directly with the district attorney, we're going to put that stuff in there and say, hey, listen, the district attorney cannot investigate this. I'm requesting this gets forwarded to the state attorney general, because obviously there's a conflict of interest here. There's no way the DA's office can investigate the district attorneys. You're going to get the attention of everybody. Maybe this ticket goes away, and maybe they look and say, let's just make this whole thing go away, because she looks like she's going to keep filing stuff. That's how you make tickets go away down here. That's how we make them go away. Every time I file a judicial complaint and a criminal complaint, The last 3 citations we had went away. They stopped sending us stuff. Nobody sends us paperwork anymore. They just go away. Every time.
I wish I knew that before I had my 8 tickets that I just paid. But I don't even know if it's like that here in Puerto Rico. But you guys.
Yeah, you got it made. You got Brett, man. Go get Brett's motions. You got Brett's motion right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Laurel, do you feel good about this? Do you feel complete with your questions?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're awesome.
Have fun with it. Listen, it'll start to become fun for you. Listen, can you imagine what's going on in their head? Well, listen, can you imagine what's going on in their head? The DAs are going to see a copy of your complaint. They're going to see you saying, hey, listen, these are against the DA. The DA's office can't investigate itself. I'm going to need you to forward this to the state attorney general. Now they're going, holy shit, what do we do here? How can the DA deal with your criminal complaint when your criminal complaints are against the DA? Okay. You could have fun with this, trust me.
Yeah.
That's how you have to look at this. It's fun. There's nothing can happen to you. There's no bad thing that's going to happen to you. Worst case scenario, you have to pay the fine. Whatever the fine is, you got to pay the fine. That's the worst case scenario happens to you. Best case scenario, you're going to get their attention. They're going to know your name, and you're going to cause a little bit of a shitstorm in that little area there. They're going to go, hey, she's filing criminal complaints, bar grievances, motions. You're going to get their attention. You're going to become more of a pain in the ass than you're worth. And the hope is that they make your little ticket go away.
Oh, we love it, Alphonse. We love it. Thank you so much. So we're at the end of our time together. I've got Airbnb guests who are just now checking in and they're honking out there. And I think they might need some help because, we just got through with the hurricane and there's no power, but I have solar. So anyways, but where can people find your work if they want to have more in-depth conversations with you? What are the best ways to get a hold of you, Alphonse?
Yeah, to Telegram groups, it's the easiest thing. I mean,
okay,
I've actually my website I don't even look at right now. When I get my property tax suit done, then I'm going to go do I'll put the new site up. But go to Telegram, Alphonse Faggiolo on Telegram, and get in there, and then we'll hook you up with Brandon's groups and James the Patriots groups, and you should be good. I mean, there's a ton of documents up there, ton of resources up there for you.
Amazing. Well, thank you again so much. This was super helpful. I think we feel a lot clearer, and I definitely can tell from the chat that people are feeling empowered to get, our power back, and we're going to go out and cause some waves and have some fun, hopefully, in the process of learning all this. You guys, so Alphonse, thank you again for being with us. And I think we're going to close it out if we don't have any more further questions or anything. I can just kind of maybe throw everybody up and you can say any last little bits. Oh, geez, add to stream. Oops, sorry. I'll throw all the peoples up. You guys can unmute your mics and we'll just close it out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Alphonse.
Take care. Good luck.
Oh.